mentions the festival of the descending gods. It is said to occur once a year when the gods who reside in the heavens are said to descend to earth. People celebrate this sacred day with great pomp and ceremony. Special blessings are given to those who reach the age of 15. The power of these blessings that bring various abilities is said to be called gifts. These gifts can include skills for adventuring, trading, or crafting. The hero calls out to Senna, trying to wake her up. The girl wants to sleep for 5 more minutes or 5 hours. The guy asks how much more she wants to sleep. The hero's name is Gio. He announces that today is the holiday of the fallen gods. The girl expresses irritation, saying that her brother is naughty. The boy pulls his sister out of bed, reminding her to hurry up so as not to miss the prayer. He asks her to dress herself. Gio thinks his sister is spoiled. He thinks that today they will become adults by receiving gifts for the holiday. The hero mentions that they both turned 15 this year. He explains that he and Senna are the same age, although he was born a few months earlier, and that they are brother and sister. The guy says that the details are unknown. He also adds that the mother may have disappeared because of her love for her father. He says that their father was a good adventurer and died more than a year ago. After that, he and Senna started living together. Gio suggests going to the square. The girl emotionally says that she is nervous and wonders what gift she will receive. The brother replies that only God knows what gift she will receive. The hero happily declares, hoping that the gift he has received will help him in his future adventures. He demonstrates enthusiasm and imagines how he will use his new abilities. Senna says that his older brother always says that. Gio says he doesn't care. He expresses a desire to become an adventurer like his father, but the boy thinks he has other reasons. The girl confidently declares that the hero will receive a good gift, expressing optimism and faith in his success. The brother smiles and says that his sister is still as reckless as before. Senna replies that she will be happy with her life if her Gio supports her. The hero playfully teases the girl, saying that she should work too. The hero notices that people have already started praying, and he needs to join them. The guy explains that the tradition involves praying to the gods at sunrise and watching the sun rise. He adds that it is at this moment that people receive a special blessing. Gio prays for a blessing to help him in his adventures. The heroes stand in the square with the rest of the people and pray for a gift. It sounds like this is a gift for her. A deity appears before the guy and she gives him her gift. The hero expresses shock and amazement. One of the praying characters received a blessing that could be useful in the family business. Another character is surprised to note that he had never heard of such a thing and did not think it would be a useful gift. The girl asks her brother how it all went. He asks her again what gift she received. Senna replies that she had something similar to the blessing of the sword god. The young man exclaims in surprise that this was not said nicely, and he continues with an emotional expression that it is an amazing gift, perhaps even rare. The brother says that her gift can help her in adventures. The sister notices that he came too close. The older brother apologizes and says he got nervous. The girl laughs and says she thought he was going to kiss her. Senna asks her brother what exactly they gave him. The hero remembers that he wanted to become an adventurer and asked for a blessing to help him in his future adventures. The guy announces in shock that he was given a vegetable garden. The sister asks again about the vegetable garden. The brother adds, upset, that they gave him a vegetable garden. The boy and the girl hear laughters. The laughter comes from a girl with short hair named Annie. The girl with long hair named Shifa points out that it is wrong to laugh at God's gift and disrespectful to Gio. The brother and sister called out the names of Annie and Shifa. The boy is surprised and says he can't believe he was heard. Senna wonders if her brother will be able to feed her with this gift. Gio is outraged by his sister's question. Shifa confidently says that this gift depends on how a person uses it. The young man listens attentively and looks a little embarrassed or thoughtful. Annie continues to laugh about the gift. The hero makes a remark to her. The guy also mentions that these two girls are his sisters, whom he has known since childhood. He says that Shifa was born 3 years ago, and Annie, who was born a little earlier than them, received her gift at the autumn festival last year. The protagonist reports that the sisters are now working as adventurers and that Annie has the gift of a hunter's sense of smell, while Shifa has the gift of an empress's prestige. He then adds that at her age, she has already achieved a power that deserves respect. The young man expresses his desire to become an adventurer too. The hero hints that there is a main reason. Gio gets a nudge in the side, and Annie tells him she's sorry because he can't be an adventurer with Shifa. The guy asks why she said that. Senna and Shifa are at odds. Annie asks Senna what about her gift. She offers to take a look. The girl with long hair asks thoughtfully about the blessing of the sword god. The second girl with short hair replies that she has never heard of such a thing. Shifa states that, judging by the name, this gift must be very powerful. Senna states that she is confident in her abilities and intends to become a strong swordswoman. Annie confirms this and says that she really should become an adventurer. She invites her to join their group. Senna agrees. Annie continues to say that they need a new member now and asks Schiff if she is okay with it. The girl replies that if it is Senna, then she does not mind. The boy thinks about Senna now being in Shifa's group. He adds that he would also like to receive a powerful gift that would help him in his adventures. Sina calls out to her older brother. The young man says that she shouldn't hesitate since she was invited to such a group. And he goes on to say that his gift is not so profitable that he can count on earning money. He adds that she shouldn't think that he will feed her. Gio notices that Senna has grown up and is so big. He adds that she needs to work on herself a lot. The younger sister is determined to become an adventurer. She says goodbye to her older brother and says that she is going to earn a lot of money while she is young so that she can enjoy life later. Her brother is outraged that this is all she wants. The young man sadly says that he never thought he would miss his sister. He admits that he is still depressed and envious of Senna's gift. Gio ponders what he can do with his gift and whether he understands correctly what it means to have a garden at home. The hero says he doesn't take care of his garden at all and that his gift is useless because he doesn't have a garden. The system voice asks the guy if he wants to allocate a place for a garden. A young man sees the earth stand out in a certain place. He turns around in surprise, looking for someone who did this, and exclaims, "What is this corner where the earth flares up?" The system voice asks the boy again whether to allocate this place for a vegetable garden. He expresses fear and says that he hears voices in his head again, and gives a positive answer to the question. The system voice said that he had allocated this place for a vegetable garden. The young man notices that the land has suddenly changed and has become suitable for a vegetable garden. He is surprised and asks what it is. The hero touches the ground and adds that the soil is now soft and perfect for planting. A system window appears in front of Gio. The system window shows information about his garden. It says that this is the city of Gio, and he has a level of 105. The area of the vegetable garden is 50-50, no skills. The system voice asks if he wants to start growing something. The guy sees a list of crops that can be grown in the garden: wheat, potatoes, tomatoes, garlic, cucumbers, barley, carrots, eggplant, Chinese cabbage, turnips, pumpkin, lettuce, and green peppers, all of average quality. Gio asks in surprise if he can choose the crops he wants to grow in his garden. A young man decides to grow potatoes and says that he just needs to do it. He asks if it is possible to indicate with this symbol. The system voice asks if the young man wants to grow potatoes. Gio says yes. The voice asks to choose the quantity. The hero chooses 150. The voice asks to indicate the location of the planting. The guy asks to plant at the far end and confirms the chosen place. The system voice states that he has started growing potatoes. However, the hero notes that he cannot even plant the seeds. The young man doubts that vegetables can really grow so easily. However, he claims that it is true and says that growing vegetables becomes easy because of this. The hero also adds that it does not require any money and that you should try planting other crops, 1 seed per square. Gio explains that on a field of 50 squares you can plant 10 varieties of vegetables, 5 squares for each. The protagonist plants the chosen vegetables with the help of the gift, and says that he will have to return often to check how things are going in the garden. Gio is shocked. The young man watches in amazement as his garden suddenly turns into a magnificent vegetable garden in just 1 hour. He asks if it is really that simple and if it is the effect of his gift. The hero notes that for an ordinary farmer, such a development would take months. Gio is surprised to notice a lot of fresh and tasty vegetables. The young man expresses doubt, saying that harvesting might be difficult. The system voice asks whether to harvest. The protagonist thinks that she is reading his thoughts. Gio agrees to harvest. The young man watches in amazement. The system voice begins harvesting, demonstrating the ease and efficiency of the process. The hero notices with surprise that vegetables suddenly start jumping out of the ground. He also expresses surprise and says that the vegetables are picking themselves. Gio watches in amazement as several large baskets full of various vegetables lie on the ground in front of him. Tomatoes, potatoes, cabbage, carrots, eggplants, and other produce are visible. Everything looks fresh and plentiful. The young man thinks about the voice he heard in his head, about the land being plowed instantly. He also mentions mysterious symbols such as level and skills. He notes that crops grow abnormally fast without the need to plant seeds. The hero ponders the inexplicable phenomena that occur one after another, such as vegetables that gather themselves. He notices that the basket appeared before he had time to think. Gio is thinking about something. He notices with surprise that everything is comfortable. He looks pleased and happy. The boy wonders if it is possible to eat vegetables. He notices that the tomatoes look like regular, tasty tomatoes. The young man tastes the tomato and notices that it is delicious. He notes that the flesh is tightly packed and contains many gelatinous parts, adding that the tomato is sweet like a fruit, but also has a corresponding acidity. The protagonist says that he would eat them all, and is surprised to notice that all the tomatoes are of the same quality. Gio is amazed and says it is incredible. She suggests that maybe not only tomatoes but other vegetables can be of the same quality. Meanwhile, three girls are shown, Senna and her friends. Senna admires the view of the amazing meadows. She is surprised to notice that she has never been out of town before. Shifa points to a dungeon run by Lord Arsel. She explains that it is a dangerous labyrinth inhabited by demons and a place where valuable materials can be found. The girl says that adventurers go to such dungeons to get rich quick. Annie says that Senna is a newbie, but he will get used to it when he fights monsters. She notes that Senna has never held a sword before and that she should practice. The girl resolutely replies that she will try. She shows her new sword that she bought yesterday. Shifa agrees, adding that the sword is not bad. Annie thinks that since Senna has received the gift of a sword, she should progress quickly. The girls are surprised to notice the presence of the demon. An evil creature emerges from the grass, with long claws on its feet and hands as well as pointed ears. The girls see a goblin. Shifa asks how many there are. Annie reassures her that there is no need to worry as it is only one goblin. She says that is just what a new adventurer needs. Annie tells Senna to get down to business and get ready. She asks in surprise what just happened. Shifa notices that Annie moved so fast that she didn't even have time to see the sword. The girl laughs happily and says that this is really great, and with this she will be able to deal with the goblin. The girls express concern, saying that it is dangerous to be alone. Senna replies that there is no need to worry. She believes she knows how to defeat her opponent. The goblin threw a sharp stone. The girls are surprised to see that he threw his equipment towards Senna. The stone slides down the blade of the sword. The goblin expresses surprise and fear. Senna attacks the goblin and wins. The two girls next to her look surprised and scared. Senna laughs happily and says that we did it, that this is a victory. Annie and Shifa stand in shock. They saw that Senna had the courage to defeat the monster alone. They noted the instant strength and good eyesight that helped her quickly deflect thrown stones with her sword, and also the spirit that allowed her to defeat a living creature, even if it was a demon. And most importantly, her swordsmanship. They say we have a new talent, they show it at home. A young man is cooking something in a saucepan, and he hears a voice saying that someone is home. The protagonist greets his sister and tells her that he is already prepared. He asks how the girl's first adventure went. She replies that it was fun and adds that she fought a demon. The older brother expresses surprise and misunderstanding and asks if she is okay and not injured. The girl says that he worries about her a lot. She adds that her sisters were with her and the demons were weak, and that it was her first time with the sword, but it felt good. The young man remarks that it might be because of the gift and he envies her. The hero says that this is a reward for the first success and gives her the stew. Today he used vegetables from the garden. He thinks that now they will not save on food anymore, although there is not much meat. Another wished her bon appetit. The brother asks the surprised Senna what happened. My sister happily says that the food is very tasty. She expresses admiration and joy at how delicious all the vegetables are. The older brother notices that today everything is different. The girl next to him agrees and adds that this is an unusual stew. He tries the stew and thinks it is very tasty. Senna says in admiration that it is so rich and sweet, and she has never tasted such delicious vegetables. The young man notes that the vegetables this time are on a completely different level than those he has eaten before. The sister happily notes that everything is very tasty and that there is so much here. The brother says that he is glad that she is happy with the food. The girl asks where he found such products. He asks if she wants him to tell her everything. The protagonist begins to tell his story, but Senna interrupts him and asks for more. He understands that it was stupid. The sister happily says that she ate too much food. The guy asks Senna to come over for a minute to explain something. The girl is surprised that there is a garden in the yard. The young man shows the vegetables they ate today and says that they were picked here. Senna wonders if this could be his gift. His brother confirms and thinks that perhaps it saves on food costs. The sister is delighted and happily explains that she can eat this delicious food every day. The young man thinks that he would be glad to receive a gift that would help him in his adventures. He also thinks the garden looks amazing, and he says he ate a lot of food. The girl says her mouth is watering just thinking about it. The heroes notice that a stone has fallen near them. The girl explains that it is a magic stone. She found it during today's adventure. The system voice asks if you want to use this stone. The young man asks his sister if the magic stone is made of frozen magic power. She confirms and asks her if he can take it. Senna allows it and asks what he plans to do with it. The protagonist throws a stone on the ground. The system voice said that he used a magic stone. The guy wonders what will happen this time, noting that it is an amazing ability. And he is surprised to note that he did not even think that everything would be like this. The young man notices that the tree is full of meat. The hero says that his gift is a vegetable garden, which allows him to create fields and harvest delicious crops. Geo also believes that after using the magic stone, a tree with meat grew. The heroes are in a dungeon located in the vicinity of Arsal. The girl expresses fatigue after fighting many demons. Annie notes that the opponents are no longer a threat after the conflict was quickly resolved. Shifa says that if Senna is ready for serious research, then everything will be fine. Senna laughs and says that the stone she found is a souvenir for her brother. Annie is sure that such a small specimen is not worth much, but Senna decides to take it for her brother anyway. Shifa asks how his brother is and says that on the day of the descent he couldn't see very well. Annie says Gio wanted to be an adventurer, but his gift is not suitable for that. Shefa is worried. Senna says it's okay, he'll stay home. She proudly declares that her brother is an amazing person and notes that with his gift, one can conquer the whole world. Gio expresses surprise and concern when he learns that Shifa might come to visit them. His sister adds that Annie might come too. The protagonist exclaims that the house needs to be cleaned. He believes that Shifa has not visited him for a long time, and he firmly declares that he wants to make her happy. The protagonist begins to doubt, noting that her facial expression remains neutral, which makes it difficult to understand her feelings. He adds that Shifa is cool and sweet and does not laugh as often as Annie. The guy is afraid to disappoint her. Senna says that her sisters will only come to see the garden. The hero wonders what the reaction will be if he shows them these products. The girl expresses confidence that the products from the garden will be delicious. The sister happily continues that she is always happy when she eats. Gia thinks that maybe Shifa will be happy too. The guy is determined to make the garden even better to meet the expectations of his guests. He notes that this is no longer an ordinary vegetable garden. Senna suggests using some magic stones. The hero admits that he has long wanted to increase the level of the garden. He examines the system plate with information about his garden, which belongs to Geo. The garden is at level 2-8-10. The area of the vegetable garden is completely filled 100-100, and he does not have any skills yet. He believes that the level of the garden is increased due to the magic stones. He also notes that the area of the garden can be expanded and the number of crops for cultivation. The system voice says that he can now grow meat in his garden. He decides to try to level up his garden, although he is not sure how this will happen. The voice asks how much of the magic stone to use for further actions. Gia replies that it must be used all. The sister wonders who her brother is talking to. The system voice says that the magic stones are being used. The heroes notice that the stones are starting to disappear. They say that they have increased the level to 3. It is said that now it is possible to expand the area of the garden and grow new crops. The guy suggests checking it out. The hero notes that he has never heard of burdock, perilla, or sweet potato before. He turns to Senna to find out if she knows these names. The girl says that she knows nothing about them. The girl asks if this is exotic food. She thinks that if they manage to harvest it, it will be great. The hero and the girl are in the garden where they see new crops. The hero proudly declares that they have expanded their garden. The guy wonders if it could be sweet potatoes or a variety of them. The sister suggests trying the new crop. The brother explains that steaming potatoes depends on choosing the right ingredients. The heroes taste the sweet potato they just cooked. They both express admiration for its taste and texture, noting how sweet and surprisingly good it is. Gio concludes that this sweet potato is more like a dessert than a regular vegetable. He notes that it can definitely be used as a dessert dish. The girl admits that her brother's gift is amazing, and if she uses the magic stone, she can make even more things. She decides to go get something else to continue experimenting with new products. The hero happily announces that his gardening level has increased, and he has learned new skills. The girls come to visit and apologize for disturbing them, stating that she hopes they are not disturbing them. The boy happily invites Shifu in and says he is always happy to see guests. The sister laughs, confirming that everything is fine. The hero apologizes for not noticing Annie right away. Annie says that Senna said that his garden was nice, and she came to see it. Shifa confirms. Gio explains that his sister is exaggerating, he didn't go that far. Annie says it's hard to believe that something as simple as a vegetable garden can be so successful. The heroes go out into the garden, which turns out to be a vegetable garden, and they are surprised to note that it looks very well groomed and prosperous. The girls notice the variety of crops grown in the garden. They are surprised that vegetables, fruits, and even mushrooms grow here. All the crops look healthy and are developing well. They note that now there is a beautiful fence here, but before this garden was much more wretched. Senna admits she was shocked when she saw the fence. The hero confirms that it was all his work. He explains that at level 5 he learned the fence creation skill, which allows him to instantly build a fence around the garden to protect it from prying eyes. Annie says she underestimated him and adds that she never thought it was possible to create such a beautiful fence. The girl notes that she is seeing some of the crops for the first time. The hero notices that Annie was recently laughing about the garden and wonders why she is so impressed by his success. He notes that Shifa always seems dispassionate. The guy thinks about it and asks her opinion on this matter. Shifa replies that it was so beautiful that she was surprised. However, the hero suggests that perhaps Shifa was just trying to be polite. The main character suggests trying the harvest from the garden, and the girls agree. Geo points to a tree and says that meat grows on it. The girls express surprise and shock at such an unusual phenomenon. They are doubtful but decide that there is meat on the tree after all. The young man admits that he was also surprised at first. Annie is surprised to see meat growing on trees, which seems strange and impossible. However, the hero explains that this was made possible by his gift. The guy says that the produce from his garden is really tasty and starts harvesting. At this point, the meat starts moving, causing shock and surprise among those around him. Another notes that the hero has a basket for collecting meat, and it jumps into it by itself. The hero happily notes that this is very convenient. The girl expresses surprise and shock at what is happening in the garden. She says that it is not a matter of convenience, but the very fact that the meat itself is jumping, pointing out the unusualness of the situation. The heroes notice that the meat looks fresh and delicious. Geo happily suggests that they have a barbecue tonight, causing the others to be excited. Annie asks if they can really eat this meat. Shifo expresses a desire to try meat. Annie says that the meat is from the tree. She replies that it's just a gift from Geo, and there's no reason to worry. The heroes discuss preparations for the barbecue. One of the girls offers to help with cutting the meat, and another agrees to help with cooking. Annie is tasked with taking care of the vegetables. The guy announces that everything is ready and invites everyone to start eating. He says that Senna will be the first to try the dish. Geo offers Shifa a taste of the meat he just cooked. The hero warns her to be careful, as the meat is hot. The girl next to her expresses doubt and asks if she is sure of her choice. The protagonist feels uneasy, not knowing how Shifa will react to the meat. Shifa says the meat is delicious. The guy was glad that she liked it. Annie asked if it was really tasty. The hero says he's glad she liked it. Shifa says she's never eaten meat that tasted better. Senna suggests Annie try it now. The girl notes that the meat has an excellent texture and looks soft. The characters express admiration for the taste of meat, especially beef and pork, which are grown on trees. The girl notes that vegetables and mushrooms are also very tasty. She says that she feels like she can eat everything that is on the table. Geo suggests sweet potato pie for dessert. The boy shows off a sweet potato that was grown in their garden. Annie is surprised, stating that she has never heard of such a vegetable. Shifa asks if it really is from their garden, and the hero confirms it is. The girls try it and say it's delicious. Annie admits that she has never tasted anything like it. Shifa expresses admiration for the sweet pie, comparing its taste to honey. The girls ask for another piece of pie. The hero notices that sweets are really popular among the girls. Senna confirms that her brother's gift is truly amazing. The girls agree, showing admiration and satisfaction with the results of the garden. The hero notices that their garden offers a variety of delicious products. Shifa expresses her admiration, saying that God has given Geo an amazing gift. She notes that it is truly impressive and acknowledges the uniqueness of his abilities. The protagonist expresses happiness when he sees Shifa smiling. He can't believe that she is smiling at him and adds that it was done especially for her. The girl asks if this is really for her, surprised by all the attention. The guy replies that he didn't mean anything like that and says there's still some food left. He expresses his uncertainty that he'll be able to entertain everyone properly. The young man continues to reason that thanks to his gift they were happy and he was able to see Shifa's smile. And he does not know if this would have been possible without his gift. Annie says that although the food is delicious, the amount is too much for one person. The hero notes that Senna loves to eat, but even she can't eat all the food grown in the garden. He continues that the produce grows quickly and in large quantities. Annie asks if some of the produce from his garden can be used in the restaurant. The heroes were surprised when they heard the words about the restaurant. The hero notices that even during lunch there is a huge queue in front of the restaurant. He is surprised at how popular the establishment is. The waitress greets customers with a smile and invites the next visitor to come in. She greets each guest joyfully, creating a friendly atmosphere. The guy notices that most of the visitors are men. The waitress approaches the young man, saying that she wants him to have lunch at their restaurant. Annie says they have a business meeting here, that's not why he's here. He expresses surprise when he learns that a new restaurant has opened near Annie's house. The guy notices that the place is literally across the street from Annie's house and becomes interested in learning more about the new establishment. The hero and another girl are in front of Lucas's restaurant, which is Annie's parents' home. They notice that the restaurant used to be thriving, but now it looks abandoned. The hero asks if it's still open, showing surprise at its condition. Annie says that a new competitor has recently appeared and they have lost all their customers. The girl says that she used to come here with Senna. She expresses sadness about how the place has changed. Gio learns that his father has been away for a long time and that Annie herself is often away. The hero learns that her sister does everything she can to support the restaurant. The hero notices that Annie's sister, Alicia, is always kind and strong. Alicia appears and apologizes for keeping them waiting. She greets the heroes, happily meeting them in the restaurant. The heroes look shocked. The sister notices Annie and Gio in the room. The guy is puzzled. Alicia asks Gio if he saw something. The girl explains that the restaurant next door is losing money and the only way to compete is to dress attractively. Annie admits that she is sad about this idea. Alicia says that this is indeed a new development, causing confusion among the other characters. Annie categorically states that their plan is fatally flawed, expressing disappointment and a desire to end the discussion. The girl smiles and suggests that Annie should dress in attractive clothes to make a splash. However, Annie looks surprised and asks what exactly is being discussed, expressing confusion. Another girl assures her sister that everything is fine and her figure will really make a splash. However, Annie categorically refuses, stating that she does not want to do it. Annie says what was just said and hopes that the hero is not imagining the situation too clearly. The hero is confused and does not know what they were talking about. The girl says that her sister is an adventurer and she should take care of the restaurant. Annie expresses her desire to support her sister as the restaurant is very important to her, but she notes that the focus should be on the food. The hero notices that the restaurant does not have a special menu and looks quite simple. Alicia warns that if things continue as they are, the restaurant they inherited from their father could become unprofitable and close. Gio is surprised by how upset Alicia is. She adds that it is important for both sisters. The hero turns to the girls and says that he came here at Annie's request. He expresses hope that his gift will help save the restaurant. He explains that he has been thinking about how to use his abilities to solve the problem. The guy shows off a large harvest from the garden that he has collected, and he notes that all the products are really very tasty. Alicia notes that they have never seen such products before and notes their freshness and high quality. The young man also shows the roots and leaves. When the hero shows the rice, the other characters express surprise and admit that they have heard of rice but have never seen it, as it is rare in their region. Alicia notes that this type of rice is very rare and is usually imported from other countries. Annie also says that she has seen similar rice at the market before. The girl is surprised because rice of this color should usually be brown. The hero shows polished rice which looks white and shiny. He notes that even with the usual harvest, the rice was already like this. The sister expresses admiration for the garden, asking how they were able to gather such ingredients. Annie adds that meat also grows on the trees, causing even more amazement among those around her. She invites Alicia to try making a dish with these ingredients. Annie admits that she doesn't want him to do ignoble work, and thanks for the products and decides to try to cook something tasty. The girl demonstrates her skills with her hands, showing how she prepares for the cooking process. She notes that she does not show her skills, but now decides to make an exception. Annie happily says that she found a recipe book in her father's room. The book has instructions on how to cook rice. Her sister thanks Annie for finding the recipe that will help her cook rice. The girl reads the book and begins to follow the directions, such as adding dill, animal parts, and 25 potatoes. They notice that some of the steps seem complicated, especially the use of magic, but decide to give it a try. Alicia suggests adding a lot of water and stirring the rice to continue the process. She reports that the rice is already gone. The sister expresses surprise. The boy says that he has already collected new rice. The heroes notice a pleasant aroma coming from the cooking rice. There is talk in the crowd about the line moving slowly and questions about whether they are really in line yet. The man is asked to be patient. The girl greets visitors, joyfully meeting them at the entrance to the restaurant Lucas, and offers to have a snack in their establishment. She announces that they have a new menu. Gio asks what's wrong with her outfit. Annie says she designed a special uniform for her sister. The customer says he doesn't remember there being a restaurant here, but he likes their waitress and it smells delicious. The men show interest in the menu and ask if they can order. The girl confirms that they can order the dishes. The waiter brings the ordered dishes to the table and thanks the customers for waiting. The visitors express surprise and admiration, seeing the delicious dishes in front of them. The young man names what is on the table, namely perilla leaf rolls stuffed with meat and burdock roots, potato salad, thick vegetable soup, and boiled rice. The waiter mentions that this is their establishment's special set lunch. The customer expresses surprise at such an unusual ingredient on the restaurant menu. He remarks that he has never seen rice before. The heroes wonder why an ordinary establishment serves such a rarity as rice. They show interest in the taste of this product. Gio thinks that everyone will like the food because the characters put a lot of effort into preparing it and that all the ingredients for the dishes were grown in his garden. The diners try it. One of them notes that the food is simply insanely delicious, while another says that the rice is soft and fluffy. They enjoy the food. The man says that the more he chews the rice, the better it gets. Another customer says that the salad and soup are simply delicious. He also notes that the meat is also very tasty. The hero notes that the perilla leaves add freshness and piquancy to the dish, and adds that the burdock has a pleasant texture. Alicia and Gio happily listen to a customer praise their restaurant. He expresses surprise that they are out of rice. Annie brings out a portion of rice for the guest. The girl says that they can eat as much rice as they want, causing surprise among the other characters. Other customers also show interest in the place, asking about available seats. They express surprise and admiration for the quality of the food, especially noting that they have never had such a meal before. Alicia asks Gio for permission to take something from his plate. He happily agrees, noticing that she looks happy, even though she is currently busy working at the restaurant. The heroes continue to eat and discuss the quality of the ingredients, wondering where such rare and delicious products come from. When the waiter suddenly reacts with fear, the customers ask what happened. The first one calms down, stating that nothing terrible happened. The customers notice the attractive girls in the restaurant across the street and remark that this compensates for the lack of space. They decide that they will visit this place regularly because the food is delicious here. Guests often express admiration for the quality of food at Luca's, adding that the owner is very nice. Alicia thanks the hero for his help and support, showing joy at such success. She says that she can't remember when they had so many guests before. The guy offers to continue cooking dishes from the ingredients from the garden if they like them. The owner of the restaurant offers to pay generously for them. The young man refuses the money. She insists that as the owner of the establishment, she cannot take food for free, even from friends. The girl adds that for such a tasty result, she would be ready to pay twice the market price. Gio says that she still has a lot of work to do. The hero assures that in any case he will be happy if it is possible to keep the establishment open. He asks to leave the market price, and when they can afford it, they will discuss the price again. Alicia is delighted. She asks Gio what he thinks of his sister. He replies that she is a good girl. The girl invites the hero to go for a walk with her sister, causing embarrassment to the hero. The sister greets Annie. She asks not to play with the hero because he might not understand the joke. The guy admits he understands the hints but still feels surprised. Alicia says she puts it as it is, and she adds that if her sister hesitates, she can take Gio for herself. Annie looks confused when her sister says something unclear. Alicia says she'll go get ready for tomorrow. She states that she will do everything possible to ensure the prosperity of the Luca's restaurant. The hero is glad that Alicia is okay again. Annie says that she was afraid that she had already lost control. The young man admits that he is surprised that everything worked out so quickly and successfully. The girl says that one must be careful not to abuse his gift. And she adds that the kidnappers can force them to produce an infinite amount of goods and asks to be careful. The hero guesses why the girl stopped him last time and asks her if she is worried about him. The girl replies that she didn't want anything to happen to the restaurant. He understands that it is very important to talk to someone in difficult times and is glad that he trusts Anna and others. She says he literally saved her life this time and adds that she couldn't have helped him the way he helped her. Gio notes that they have known each other since childhood. She says that he is a kind person, although sometimes a little naive, and thanks him again. The hero asks if she ate anything strange. She replies that she ate meat from a tree. He never thought that she would thank him so sincerely, and he decided that it was all thanks to his gift. The guy rejoices, saying that today many people are enjoying the fruits of his gift. Gio considers the possible abuse of his gift, realizing the potential risks. The girl in the cap recalls a previous visit to a restaurant, where the most popular place was on the other side of the road. The hero expresses admiration for the success of the restaurant Luca's, wondering how the establishment was able to achieve such prosperity. She feels great interest. The boy exclaims that something happened again. The sister asks what happened. He asks her to look. The young man notices that this is the work of crows and complains about constant problems with them. The sister suggests exterminating the crows. She notes that crows are no problem for adventurers. The girl wonders why the crows never come to them. The young man notices that the crows often appear when he is alone. Her brother suggests that the crows are instinctively afraid of her. Senna says that they don't take him seriously. She wonders if she can stop being an adventurer and stay a guardian of the garden. Her brother thinks that he just wants to stay home and says that it is time to go on an adventure. He thanks Senna for making the birds disappear for a while. The young man explains that the fence is useless against the birds and that it is inconvenient for him to guard the crops all the time. The hero uses magic stones to level up. He hopes that with their help he will be able to level up, and indeed his level increases to 10. After leveling up, the hero discovers new skills and is surprised that the vegetable garden can now be expanded. There's a knock at the door. Gio decides to check later and asks who it is. A girl named Lilia Lurica introduced herself as a merchant and happily greeted the heroes. The young man noticed that she was very small and wondered if she belonged to the Lilliputian race. Gio clarifies what he can do for her. The girl says that the restaurant Luca's became popular due to its delicious food, to which the girl agreed, noting that she herself was surprised by its dishes. She wanted to know where they got such quality ingredients, so she followed the restaurant. Lurica laughs and says that's why she ended up here, adding that the house looks normal for a source of such amazing ingredients. The hero expresses bewilderment, not understanding what the girl wants from him, and asks what is happening around him. The girl suggests that a gift may be involved in what is happening. He remembers Annie's words that it would be better if as few people as possible knew about the amazing power, so that no one would try to abuse it. The little girl laughs and says that the hero tried to deceive her. She says that he is too simple-minded because all his thoughts are written on his face. The girl says the apple is delicious. The girl happily offers cooperation. Lurica explains that the products will be sent not only to the restaurant Luca's, but also to other cafes and shops. She asks if this is interesting for him, and the guide confirms that it is indeed interesting. The girl in the cap understands that the hero is careful in business. She clarifies that hobbits do not cheat on principle and always conduct fair trade. Gio is surprised to think that he has never heard of trickster hobbits, noting that they are indeed exceptionally intelligent and peaceful. The girl suggests that they seal the deal with a magical contract if the hero is worried. She explains that magical contracts are used to protect transactions and maintain trade secrets. The girl suggests including a ban on revealing magical secrets in the contract, and suggests making a deal and then discussing all the details in more detail. The hero thinks that the visitors of the restaurant Luca's highly appreciated her products, and he wants to please more people with his products. The guy admits that trading is not for him, but he finds it useful to make deals with experienced traders. The protagonist resolutely declares that he will sign the contract, and the girl thanks him for this decision. Lurica announces that from now on the magical contract is in effect. Gio wants to show his vegetable garden. A young man shows an unusual tree on which vegetables, fruits, and mushrooms grow. The girl is surprised and asks what it is. Gio says there is no need to plant seeds as everything grows quickly within an hour. He says you can harvest instantly and grow any variety or species. The hero adds that it can give products a refreshing taste or make them sweet. The girl admits that it is difficult to believe in the existence of such a miracle. She remarks that such high-quality products cannot be found on the market. He expresses shock that he heard other words. The young man expresses doubt, feeling that something is fishy here, but the girl happily says that everything is just perfect. He says that new types of products have recently been developed, such as fish. The hero notes that fish do not grow on trees, and he adds that they grow more like mushrooms in a garden. The girl notes that you don't see such a sight every day, and the little girl says that the fish looks natural. Gio admits that she doesn't know how to cook this fish, she doesn't know how to dry it or smoke it. Lurica invites the hero to cook fish together to celebrate their acquaintance. She says that she used to work with fishermen, so she knows how to cook fish and explains that the fish is called mackerel. The girl cuts the fish into 3 parts and notices what a good fillet she got. The hero expresses pleasure at working with such fresh fish. The guy wonders if it is possible to eat raw fish. The girl suggests trying different ways of cooking fish, as this is a unique situation. Gio admits that he finds deboning difficult, while Lurica points out that salt, oil and vegetables are also needed for the dish. The hero notices that Lurica knows a lot about food. She replies that her work allows her to interact with many people. The young man jokingly replies that it sounds healthy and interesting, adding that he would also like to travel or become an adventurer. The girl asks how the ability to grow meat on trees can help an adventurer. The protagonist announces that the dishes are ready. Both notice how appetizing the prepared dishes look and decide to try them. The guy calls the dish fried fish à la meunière. He is surprised to note that the taste is very soft and deep, and that fish can be so juicy. The hero asks Lilia a question, asking what she thinks about food. The girl says that the fish is quite fatty and sweet in taste. She admits that she has never tasted such delicious fish before. Gio asks Lilia if she is okay after she spoke out. Luruki apologizes for his familiarity, feeling awkward. The hero laughs and says that the dish really turned out great. The girl thanks the hero for the fish, stating that it was all thanks to his efforts. The hero replies that it was not he but she who prepared the dish. They both rejoice at the taste of the food. The girl continues to insist that the success was achieved thanks to the hero. She jokingly remarks that let there be a mutual concession, and that their mutual gratitude can become the basis for fruitful cooperation. The boy expresses a desire to grow more of the same fish. He notes that if more fish are grown, the amount of other crops will have to be reduced. The protagonist adds that it would be great to have a larger plot to accommodate more plants. The girl says thoughtfully that the boundaries of the plot limit the possibilities for expanding the garden. The young man again notices the crows attacking him. He expresses irritation. He points out that the crows are looking at the farmed fish. Gio declares that today he will show the crows who is boss. He misses with the shovel. The hero tries to drive away the crows using a shovel. However, the crows still fly away with part of the harvest. The girl asks Gio if he is okay. He replies that he is more or less, although he was able to save at least something. The boy notices that the crows fly in flocks and attack without fear. He says that he will not give up without a fight. The system window shows that his garden has reached level 10 and he has gained a new skill. The voice asks whether to create a protector. The girl asks in surprise who he is talking to. A new protector appears and agrees to protect the garden. Gio instructs the protector to drive away the crows. Luruka asks him what is going on. He explains that the protector that was created is part of her gift. The crows attack the defender in response to his actions. The defender repels the crow's attack with force. The protagonist notices that the defender is very strong and effectively defends himself against the crows. He rejoices at the defender's success. The girl expresses surprise at the power of the protector and says that it is an incredibly powerful gift. Gio happily says that everything went great and thanks him for his efforts. He assures that the garden is now protected thanks to the protector. It is said that Luruka returned home to prepare the deal. It is reported that the money is flowing steadily and the garden is protected thanks to the golem. The guy asks if everything is ready. The girl says that she bought a plot of land next to his house. She happily declares that she wants to give him this plot of land. Lero says that if the planting area is increased, the harvest will be greater. The hero wonders about the money spent and expresses doubts about the seriousness of such a decision. The girl assures that the purchase of the plot will soon bring huge profits. She adds that this will strengthen the trust between them. The heroes decide to continue working and developing together. Gio is confident that he can trust this man completely. They decide to start the work by demolishing the abandoned house. The system voice asks about the opening of the plot, whether to transform this land into a plot, and whether a new fence is needed. The protagonist confirms everything. The next moment, the house suddenly disappears, leaving a clear space for new plantings. Luruk is shocked. The young man admires the size of the new space. The hero notes that it is now possible to grow many crops on a large plot of land. Luruk gives the money. Gio exclaims that it is a lot and decides to hide it from Senna. The girl expresses surprise at seeing the huge vegetable garden. The hero happily notes that this land was given to him, and now he can grow even more things. The sister notices many meat trees such as beef, pork, horse meat, and chicken, and also notices fish. She says wistfully that it would be great to have gardens like this all over the world. Her brother admits that he has 1,000 of the 25,000 he has now, but space limitations remain. Gio suggests harvesting the next crop. A list of herbs that can be grown, including medicinal herbs, appears in the system window. The hero asks what kind of grass it is. The girl replies that it is used to make potions that restore health. She explains that this herb was usually available in pharmacies, but now there is a shortage due to the anticipation of the next harvest. The protagonist notices that dungeons become problematic without these potions. He happily thinks that he is going to harvest this herb to help Shifa. The guy collected the aid and recalls a conversation with Senna about some pharmacy. A young man approaches an abandoned pharmacy that looks old and neglected but is open. and he wonders what kind of owner this is. Inside the pharmacy, everything looks dull and empty. The hero thinks that the place seems creepy and does not find anything interesting. The hero greets the man who entered. The guy asks whose pharmacy it is. The girl explains that she is a salesperson and assistant pharmacist at this pharmacy. The young man notices that her maid's clothes are strangely in keeping with the interior of the pharmacy. A girl appears from the darkness and says that this is a special form for Denny's. The girl in uniform says that this is Mrs. Marin. She greets the hero, adding that she has not seen him here before. The guy thought he saw a living dead person. He notes that this abandoned house really suits her. Denny's asks to make another form. Mrs. Marin explains that the form is an order from the manager. The hero notices that she looks very good in these clothes. Denny's admits that she hates this uniform and adds that she is a boy. Mrs. Marin says with surprise that Denny's is not a boy, but a cutie. Denny's denies this, claiming that he is a real boy. The girl continues to deny it. She claims that Denise is a natural sweetheart. The protagonist decides to leave but is asked to stop. A guy in a maid's uniform asks if Gio has come on business. The guy explains that he has collected ingredients for a health potion and wants to sell them. Denny's confirms that this is a really high-quality product. The girl admires the freshness and energy of the product that the hero shows. She says that this AMA can be used to make a first-class health potion. A guy in a maid uniform explains that potions vary in quality, from minor wounds to severe injuries. He adds that the higher the potion's grade, the more expensive it is. Denny's notes that Ms. Marin can judge the quality of a potion at first glance thanks to her gift. The girl exclaims in surprise that she has never seen such large IMA leaves. She expresses delight at the quality and size of the leaves. The pharmacist's assistant says that this year, due to the weather, the AIM did not grow at all. Mrs. Marin's eyes become frightening. She doesn't like that the guy is praising the guest. The hero shares that his sister Senna is an adventurer. Denny's says that she often comes to them with Shifa. Gio says he will sell them AIM at a discount, and they will have to sell the potion specifically to his sister. The girl agrees, adding that Shifa's squad is their regular customers, and she says that she has a condition too. She suddenly declares that Denny's is only hers, and she has the right to him. The hero happily notes that now the health potion for Shifa will appear again. The guy in the uniform says that the AIM is of very high quality. He adds that it would be good to ask Gio to bring more raw material. Mrs. Marin confirms that this is indeed an exceptionally high-quality product, and wonders where the hero found such a high-quality eye. The girl notices that the health potion is ready. She thinks that the potion may be of unprecedented quality. Marin says that it can't be sold just like that, and decides that the potion needs to be diluted. The sister happily announces that she bought a bunch of health potions, and asks if he brought medicinal herbs to the pharmacy. She says that Shifa asked her to convey her gratitude, and informs that she is leaving on a long raid. Brother says he's causing problems for Shifa again. Sister replies that she's a good warrior and irreplaceable in the dungeons. The girls notice a huge monster ahead. Shifa says he'll cover. The girls rejoice at the successful resolution of the situation. Annie notices that Senna easily dealt with the blood grizzly. Senna explains that the success was achieved thanks to their support. Annie has the gift of the hunter's charm, which senses the approach of living beings in advance. And Shifa has the gift of the Empress's prestige, which increases the strength of allies, reduces the strength of opponents. Annie notes that it is due to her gift of the sword god's favor and his quick grasp of things. The girls notice that they are quickly moving deeper into the dungeon. Senna clarifies that it is thanks to her brother. Without his potion, it would be dangerous to go down. She says Gio was a little embarrassed when she conveyed her gratitude to him. Annie senses the presence of 2 weak lives ahead. He assumes there is a wounded person there. The girls discover wounded people in the dungeon. They decide to help them immediately. He expresses surprise at seeing his wounded comrades. He says that these are really serious wounds. Senna offers a healing potion. She asks to take it. The girls say there is someone behind her. The heroes see that in front of them are the friends of the monster they defeated earlier. Senna is asked to cover them while they treat the wounded. She thinks that one is easy to defeat. Annie warns that more monsters will appear here soon. Shifa thinks about reinforcements. Senna feels her body becoming light. She deals with monsters and rushes to help. Someone notices that this is Shifa's squad. The girls happily greet Eliza. They discuss the wounded and decide to quickly use a potion to heal. Eliza notes that high-quality healing potions are needed here. She suggests collecting all available potions to heal the wounded. Annie thinks that if a first-class potion is used, a small amount of it will be needed. The heroes and other characters gather around the wounded. They express surprise at the severity of the wounds. The girl says that these terrible wounds will be completely healed with potions. The wounded thank the heroes for their help and saving their squad. Eliza invites them to join them to continue their journey together. Senna and Shifa say they will stay. Eliza believes that the potion they used is of super quality and even better than the first-class potion. She asks where the potion was obtained. The girls answer that they got it from the pharmacy run by Mrs. Marin. Marin thinks that she is a skilled pharmacist then. Shifa says that there was an agreement between her and Eliza and that they are acquainted. She wonders why the composition of her squad is constantly changing. Senna is surprised to notice that their potion looks strange. The girl admires the quality of the potion, stating that it is better than first class. She wonders how such a good potion was made. They claim it's Geo and his whole garden. Denny says that the success of everything that is happening is due to the herbs that Geo brought. The hero confirms that he has already heard about this from Senna. The guy admits that he is glad to be useful to Shifa. He feels satisfaction from the fact that he was able to help. The young man says he brought more Ima. The hero jokingly remarks that she is spying on her again. Denny's reports that Geo has brought the Ima again. The protagonist gives the herbs. Mrs. Marin thanks him for the gift. She notes that it is indeed thanks to his herbs that there are so many visitors. Geo believes that even though he grows, he is not able to brew the potion. Denny says admiringly how sweet Mrs. Marin is. The lady confirms that he is a cutie. Marin says that she is grateful to the hero. The hero replies that he did nothing special and promises to bring more medicinal herbs. My sister asks me to see how many magic stones there are. The brother explains that due to the success with the herbs, he decided to test new possibilities at a higher level. He notes that they can now advance by leaps and bounds. The system window says that stones were used. It is reported that the level has been raised, a new type of fence has been unlocked, new skills have been discovered, and new types of products have been unlocked. Geo is amazed that eggs can now be grown. The hero plants an egg and watches it grow. He notices that the magic egg, although called small, has actually grown to an impressive size. The guy wonders who could hatch from such a huge egg, perhaps a monster. The young man ponders how he will be able to cope with raising the monster once it hatches. He thinks that picking an egg from a branch is easy, but the rest is difficult. Lurica greets the hero and says that, as always, she came with food. She says she heard about the new super potions and asks about the medicinal herbs if they are his. Geo confirms. The girl in the cap notices that he has a lot of useful plants. The guy says that he will try to grow them and asks about the monsters. She replies that she does this, there is demand. The young man asks about eggs. Luruk has never heard of eggs. She says that real living monsters are rare, adding that monsters are violent by nature and incompatible with humans. Lurica expresses regret that anyone would ever come up with the idea of raising a monster and living with it. The hero thinks about incompatibility. He thinks that while the monster is small, he can deal with it or prevent the monster from hatching to avoid problems in the future. The boy notices that the egg begins to move, causing him surprise and alarm. The young man dismisses the fact that his sister is late, and although the situation with the egg is worrying, it warms his heart. The girl eats with pleasure and thanks for the delicious food, expressing her joy. The brother emphasizes that she has a good appetite today. She tells that today she had to fight the monster again. The boy asks how violent monsters can be. Senna recalls the time they saved girls from a monster that had injured them with its claws, emphasizing the danger of monsters. The hero agrees that the monsters are indeed violent. The sister ponders the possibility of friendship with good monsters, comparing them to a golem. She adds that such monsters could become family members. Brother says that it is not hard for him without her, because when she is at home, she does nothing. He reflects on the fact that he is not lonely, but his parents died early, and his sister is now constantly on the move. The guy checks the egg, it moves. The young man resolutely declares that he will raise a monster from the egg. The hero decides to grow food for the future monster in advance. Geo decides to check the egg, and notices that the monster inside is moving more and more often. He expresses surprise to find that the egg has become cold. The boy wonders how the monster inside the egg feels because of the sudden cold snap. He realizes that he needs to warm up the egg immediately. The young man covers the egg and notices that it has become a little warmer. The protagonist decides to go to bed, placing the egg next to him, so he can continue to take care of it. Geo lies down in bed with the egg and wishes for it to hatch quickly. The egg begins to crack. The hero thinks about what to do. The guy says encouraging words. The kitten hatched. The young man thinks that he is weak. He thinks that he needs to be fed milk. The boy notices that there are milky coconuts on the tree, and is confident that this will not stop him from drinking the milk. The hero feels freshness and a healthy smell. He gives milk to the cat. The cat begins to drink the drink greedily, and Gio is surprised to see that she is drinking so much. He is glad that the garden always gives everything necessary and there is something to feed the cat. And he notices that she has already become more cheerful. The boy happily notes that the cat is very cute and fluffy, showing obvious pleasure from communicating with her. He admits that despite the fact that she considers herself a monster, she could very well become a pet and is thinking about what to name the cat. The guy notices the cat's white fur and suggests that she name it Snowball or Iceball, continuing to communicate affectionately with the animal. The hero says that if she loves milk, she will become Milky. Someone said they were home. Gio told his sister to come over. She asks what this miracle is. Brother says that now she will live with us. The girl admires the cute cat. He decides not to tell her that she hatched from an egg. The cat bites Senna. Gio is outraged that his sister immediately went after her. Senna expresses her displeasure, saying that her brother is more worried about the cat than about her, and believes that this beast took her brother away from her. The girl indignantly says that this is her brother and she is his sister. Gio notices that it is a cat. The boy says that dinner is ready and gives Milky milk. The sister wants it too. The girl happily says that the milk is very sweet. The cat also expresses pleasure. The young man remarks that it is so wonderful to collect such delicious food from the garden, and he thinks that now they look like a real family. Gio talks about how their small family needs to work harder and sell more products to grow. The hero says that today there is not only aim but also something new. The heroes notice that she has many different herbs, and she confirms that they are all rare. Mrs. Marin notices the hiyari grass and says that it is the first time she has seen it. The girl adds that an ice potion can be made from this grass. She also mentions that after drinking this potion, a person will not be afraid of fire and heat. Daniel explains that depending on the composition, the potion can have different effects. The hero thinks that the ice potion can be useful for adventurers. Marin confirms that it can be useful especially in hard-to-reach places of the underworld. It is said that this potion can help in situations such as the mouth of a volcano. Annie says that it will evaporate soon, and another character explains that it is because they are in front of a volcano. The hero confirms that the dungeon consists of different difficulty levels. A cave level, a volcanic level, a forest level, a ruins level, and then an underwater level. She also adds that each level has its own conditions and monsters. It is said that the most difficult level is underwater, which no one has been able to pass yet. Annie explains that the peculiarity of the volcanic level is the terrible heat that only a few can overcome. She continues that defeating the bosses will bring huge rewards and valuable items to sell, which will allow her to become famous. Senna understands that they will fight the volcano bosses. Annie expresses a desire to finish her work for the day as the terrible heat is bothering her. She says that they do not have water magic and therefore feel especially tired. Shifa shows a potion that looks like pure ice. She explains that if you drink this potion, neither heat nor fire will pose a danger anymore. The girl adds that this is a trial portion from Ms. Marin. Shifa explains that Ms. Marin gave them the potion for free, but on the condition that they test it. They discuss how she was able to brew such a wonderful potion from the rare herb hiyari. The girl adds that Marin bought the weed from Gio. The heroes decide to drink the potion they received. One of them notices that it is very cold and even a little painful to drink. The girl is surprised at how quickly she stopped sweating from the heat after drinking the potion. Shifa expresses a desire to immediately go into the volcano, despite the danger. She talks about the volcano and the hot earth. Senna, despite the danger, notices that the potion provides a pleasant cooling sensation. The heroes notice that the potion's effect is actually working and the temperature is perfect for them. They decide to walk right up to the lava without fear. 3 fire monsters appear ahead, causing alarm among the heroes. The girls realize that these monsters are fire dogs and assume that they will be stronger than all the opponents they have encountered so far. Shifa notes that the sword strike weakens the monster's flames. The heroes discuss that the effect lasts long enough that demand for it will increase, and other squads will want to buy it too. Shifa confidently states that with the potion they will not be in danger, and urges them to move forward to fight the bosses. The boy happily announces that they will have a great harvest of hiyari herbs today. He says that he will do everything he can for Shifa. The guy notices that there are still some skills that he hasn't used yet, and suggests trying to apply them. The hero specifies that this is some kind of improved fence. The system voice asks whether to build a wall. Gio confirms. He notices with displeasure that a fence has appeared instead of a wall and expresses disappointment, saying that he does not need such a fence. The system voice asks whether to hide the area. The boy confirms. He notices that usually the effects of using skills show up immediately, but this time nothing happens. He decides to test new crop varieties. but notices that they seem ordinary and there is nothing new. The hero discovers that some crops, such as wheat, potatoes, and tomatoes, are now of high quality, although they were previously of average quality. The guy happily assumes that these crops will be even tastier. The girl, feeling tired after her stay in the dungeon, expresses a desire to quickly return to a soft bed. She expresses surprise. Senna asks where they came from and where the house is. The boy explains that he was just trying out new skills and shows the result, a hidden area. He decides not to use this skill anymore, as the neighbors were probably surprised too. The sister admits that she was very tired and even thought that she would have to sleep outside. The brother confirms that she can barely walk. The girl says that he has ruined everything again by using new herbs. She complains that they have been climbing around the volcano all day. The boy sadly remarks that he has been sitting and collecting herbs all day while the others are actively going through the dungeon levels. Brother suggests celebrating the completion of the first level with dinner and asks to invite the girls. He says that he's taking care of dinner, and his sister notes that it's really motivating. The heroes arrive and notice that the boss, the red lizard, is standing in front of them. It is said that this is a new boss, which is also known as Volcano. Senna spots a huge dragon with tough scales, said to be the strongest opponent they have ever encountered in years. Shifa is confident that they can defeat him and suggests attacking the dragon from all sides, joining forces. Annie suggests drinking more potion just in case. The heroine activates her skill, Empress's Prestige, which increases the strength of allies and decreases the strength of enemies. Senna says that the opponent is a hot guy and she is asked to be careful. Shifa notices that the dragon is watching Senna closely and realizes that getting closer to him will not be easy. Annie thinks he won't be able to find her. She is confident in her abilities. Shifa orders the lizard to bow down. Annie happily reports that she managed to wound the dragon. She notes that the potion is indeed very powerful. The girl thanks Annie for her help and says that they did a great job together. She emphasizes that their strength increases significantly when they work together. The heroes decide to unite again and act at full strength. The girl happily greets Shifu. Shifa greets Canaria. She asks Shifa how things are going and notices the new girl in the squad. She introduces Senna, her old friend. Canaria thinks about how the dungeons are getting harder and harder to complete every day. She asks what their plans are for today and whether they have come to report on the results. The heroes decide to report on today. The girl is surprised by the huge object she holds in her hands, calling it Volcano's scale. Shifa states that this is their report and they defeated the boss on the volcano. Canaria loudly asks if this is true. Shifa confirms and the scale is proof of it. The girl at the reception confirms that it is indeed the scales of a red lizard and specifies who they collaborated with. The heroes declare that they completed the task on their own without the help of other squads. They report that the boss is still there and needs to be picked up. Canaria agrees, but reports that the equipment for going through the volcano is not ready. Annie smiles and says that there is no need for special equipment, as there is an ice potion. She explains that by drinking it, you can feel cool even in the mouth of a volcano. The hero is surprised to notice that the boss Volcano has been defeated, and says that he has never heard of such a potion. Adventurers rejoice at the potion's effectiveness, noting that it actually works and does not sting. Annie thanks the heroes for their help. The girl suggests moving on, pointing out that the lizard is lying there. Gavofa is only 18, but she is already a B-class warrior and defeated Volcano. The man expresses extreme surprise upon seeing the shocked Volcano. The guy is surprised to notice that Volcano's scales are practically undamaged and can be sold for a good price. The young man asks how they managed to put the monster down so neatly, and notes that usually monsters obtained in battle are heavily damaged. The hero points out that the scales were pierced by one blow and does not believe his eyes, and asks who could deliver such a powerful blow. Someone asks Shifa if it was her work. She replies that it was not. He also asks Annie if it was her who did it. The girl replies that she does not know how to handle a sword like that. A group of men discuss Senna. They do not believe that she could have done it. The girl confirms that she did it. She proudly claims that she is the strongest of all with a sword. Gio sees many magic stones. He is surprised by their number. His sister explains that the reward depends on the level of the monsters. She says that the boss was exceptional and therefore the reward is appropriate, and asks to praise her. The cat meows, and it is said that Milky also wants to be petted. Senna asks why they praise the cat. The brother says that it's like therapy, it immediately feels good. The girl exclaims that it's not good to pet your sister or something. Gio asks not to be jealous, Milky is still a kitten. The boy notices that the cat has grown very quickly in just a few days. The brother happily announces that he is going to improve the garden with the magic stones he just received. The system voice informs that the level has increased, new skills have been opened, new cultures are available. The hero sees that copper ore and iron ore have become available to him. The young man decides to pretend he didn't see anything. The girl says that she has a day off from tomorrow. The boy suggests inviting the girls to a party to celebrate their successes and new opportunities. The heroes decide to celebrate the completion of the dungeon by enjoying a hearty dinner. The girls are surprised by the amount of food prepared and notice that it looks very appetizing. Gio says that Alicia helped him. She informs that Café Luca is open today only for them and that all the ingredients were taken from Gio's garden. The girl says that they can cook as much food as they need and suggests eating as much as they want. The heroes happily celebrate their victory, and Annie remarks that the steak looks delicious. Shifa agrees, saying it does look delicious. Senna says she is drooling at the sight and can't wait to try the food. The boy reports that he has prepared food using new high-quality crops. The heroes were surprised and froze in surprise when they saw the dishes on the table. Annie happily tastes the food and says it is so delicious that she could faint from pleasure. She continues to eat with obvious delight. Shifa expresses a desire to continue eating indefinitely. The other heroes also show enthusiasm, demanding more food. Gio realizes that new crops are truly dangerous because they create such an incredible appetite and delight in food. The dishes are said to be made from average quality ingredients. The girls enjoy the food, noting that the tender meat and crispy onions go well together and that the meat is juicy and savory. They notice that the previous dishes were terribly tasty, and if some bad organization gets hold of them, it could make illegal substances. It is better to hide them somewhere far away. Shifa thanks Gio for the nice reward, saying it's the least he can do for her since she cares about Senna. The girl claims that Senna herself is very talented. Annie notes that they were able to get through this so quickly thanks to his sister. The boy thinks that now he can at least do something for his friends. He admits that he still envies them. Shifa thanks the boy for his ice potions that helped them get through the volcanic zone and defeat the boss. She also says that Gio has great power too. Annie says he made healing potions for them and provided good logistical support. Sister confirms that it is difficult to move deeper into the dungeon. Alicia invites him to join them, saying that she will take care of the rest. Gio agrees. He thinks he was still able to become part of the group. The girls thank him for the delicious food and admit that they can't eat anything else. The hero thanks Alicia and says that judging by how much they ate, the food was very tasty. Shifa is asked if they will be leaving again soon. She confirms that they rest occasionally. Annie thinks she can help out at the restaurant, and Senna says that she will sleep all the time. The boy ponders Shifa's plans. The heroes say goodbye, planning to go their own way. The girl calls the hero by name and expresses a desire to thank him. She tells what kind of food and potion it is today. Shifa invites the hero to go for a walk tomorrow. The main character gets ready, puts on formal clothes. His sister asks him where he is going. He is really well dressed, and there is a cat sitting next to him. The boy pets the cat Milk and tells her that Sina will take care of her today. The cat meows questioningly. The boy apologizes if he doesn't come back by the end of the day. He leaves. His sister and the cat watch him go. He is happy that today he will be alone with Sifa. In other words, they have a date. They will go to stylish dating places and create a good atmosphere. The main character can't wait for this and smiles, after which he notices a girl in front of him who is standing dressed up and wishes him good morning. The guy gets embarrassed and wants the same. Asking if he made her wait, the girl says no, she just arrived. He thinks about exchanging phrases, usual for dates, and asks where they should go. Sifa admits that she already has thoughts on this matter. The guy is surprised by this and she asks to leave everything on her, since today she wants to thank him. The protagonist is so happy that he can't keep a straight face. Sifa has made a date plan especially for him. They go ahead. He understands that today will be a great day. The girl stops and says that they are there, pointing to the gloomy building. The protagonist watches this in silence and shock, asking if this is Marlene's pharmacy. The girl answers positively and greets someone as she goes inside. A girl in a maid costume says good morning and wonders why it's just the two of them today, which is rare. Do they need anything? The girl says no, they're just looking around. The maid wants to ask if they're on a date. Suddenly, the girl realizes something and her expression changes, realizing that they clearly didn't come to such an abandoned building for a date. The protagonist thinks that this place is definitely not for dates. Sifa silently looks at the objects on the shelves. He wonders what they are doing here at all. Sifa silently looks forward. The protagonist is very happy to just spend time with her, but he is very interested in what she is thinking about. After this, the girl suddenly turns her gaze to Gio, which surprises him. She asks him if he is having fun. The main character tries to find the right words and simply gives a positive answer. He just looked at Sifu all this time. They silently leave the building and the maid asks them to come again, then they come to a place where they sell weapons. The main character thought that this place was not suitable for dating. The guy realizes that Saifa is silently looking at the objects again, then she asks him again if he is having fun, after which a positive answer follows. The main character awkwardly asks if this is normal. He thinks about how he's never been on a date before, but isn't it usually to do with fashion stores? And he imagines the girl asking him what outfit is best for her. The man with the mustache raises his hand and wishes them welcome. He points back and says that he has recently had a new addition. Would they like to try it out? The girl and the guy look at him silently. The girl puts on the first outfit. The main character tells her that she looks very strong, but it is too heavy for her. Then she puts on an open one and says that it is light, to which the guy asks if it is too light. Saifa turns to Gio, asking him which one looks better. He says that he likes the light one better, but it doesn't look very good to him. He says that's not the point. He turns away embarrassedly. The guy turns away and tells the girl that he just thinks she looks better in her regular clothes. The girl is surprised and embarrassed. They go out and Gio asks Sifa if she wants to buy anything. The girl says nothing. Then Sifa takes the guy to a large building, the Adventurers Guild. This is another place not for dates. Sifa explains that this is the lobby. The hotel is on the second floor. There is a training area in the basement. Asks Tom if he wants to take a look. The guy understands that he has already been here but still agrees. Everyone is surprised by Sifa's arrival here. They all look at the girl, realizing that she is a B-rank adventurer. The main character understands that she is famous. He still can't believe that he is now with a famous person. He is on a date with Sifa, but someone is shouting at him to concentrate. One guy points his sword at another guy sitting on the floor and tells him that if he keeps shaking like that, he will be eaten by monsters, and he agrees with him. One of the guys is shooting a bow at targets. Someone is training with swords and someone is sitting and resting. Saifa is watching all this. The main character stands next to her and begins to be tormented by the question of whether this is really a date. If you think about it, it didn't feel like a date from the start. He was probably the only one who thought it was a date. Saifa said they would just go for a walk. Even what she meant by that is still a mystery. The girl asks the guy again if he is having fun, to which he agrees and understands that this confirmation is even mysterious. Two guys tell the third that this is his chance. They push and support him. The protagonist is shocked that he seems to want to make a confession to Sifa. The guy asks the girl if she will be his training partner, bows his head and extends his hand. The girl wants to say that she is busy now, but Gio says that everything is fine and to be honest, he would like to see her in battle. Saifa holds a spear and the guy holds a sword. The main character thinks that now he will see her fight for the first time. The guy shouts that he will do it and attacks the girl once. She blocks the blow, but he immediately attacks again. The guy is surprised that the girl quickly appeared near him and knocked the sword out of his hands. The main character was also surprised by this. The guy then falls to the floor and the girl holds a spear right at his head. The guy says that he surrenders. The protagonist is amazed by her smooth movements. Realizing how cool she is, he is very glad that he got to see Sifu in adventurer mode. Another girl approaches her and asks if she would mind training with her too, but Sifa says that's all for now. Since she has important things to do today, everyone is surprised when she approaches the guy who asked her if she was finished. The girl asked Gio if he was hungry, to which he answered positively, and then the girl suggested going to some stylish cafe. They come to one establishment, and the guy is surprised when he realizes that they were here yesterday. At the entrance, they are met by a girl in uniform with a menu in her hands, surprised by the arrival of Gio and Sifa, asking what they are doing here. The protagonist realizes that it is Annie, as if she said that she would help in the restaurant. Saifa calmly says that they came to eat. Annie says that she generally understood. But that's not the point. The girl takes the guy somewhere. She asks the guy if he is alone with her. When he answers, she also asks if they are on a date. The main character asks what she gets out of it. The girl gets angry and says that she doesn't see any other reason. Gio says that Sifa chose the places they went to, but it didn't feel like a date at all. The girl realizes that they ended up at their restaurant. However, Gio was having fun. Although he doesn't know what she's thinking, he doesn't have the feeling that this is a date. The girl tells the guy that he still has a long way to go. It is 100 years too early to go on a date with a Saifa. The guy is surprised by this, and Annie asks him to sit down at the table. She will come to take their order. Gio thinks that he was probably being overconfident. Sifa is not only older than him, but also an excellent adventurer. She is far from his league. When he arrives, Sifa asks him what he was talking about. The guy doesn't give a specific answer, thinking that if it were a date, she would take him to more special places. She asks him if he is tired, to which he replies that he is a little. The girl asks him not to worry, because after he tastes good food, he will immediately feel better. The guy understands that she is surprisingly simple. The guy smiles and tells her that she's right, they need to eat, order more. It doesn't really matter even if it's not a date. In the end, he still spends time with Saifa. Luca's is the best restaurant he knows, maybe even the best in the world. The main character thinks about a special place. They want to say something to each other at the same time and give in to each other. The girl asks the guy if he was happy because of her. She tried her best to think of the seats, but she didn't do a very good job. She wanted him to have fun because this day was supposed to be his gratitude for everything. But she doesn't know how to make someone happy, so she decided to take him to his favorite places, thinking that he would like them too. The guy is surprised to understand that these places were special for her. She even wanted to go to the dungeon, but changed her mind. She asks the guy if he had a good time, and the protagonist assures her that he did. He says that as long as he is with you, he will have fun wherever they go. He realizes that it sounded like a confession. The girl smiles and agrees. The protagonist thinks with relief that she is both weird and cool. He saw a side of Sifa he had never seen before, and yet today was a wonderful day. She says there's one more place left. She takes him to her house. The guy wonders if she wants to introduce him to her parents. She says it's one of her favorite places. The main character is thinking, but someone says that they have bad news. The girl explains that it is from the workshop. He realizes that her family owns a blacksmith shop, and she asks what is going on with Billy's father. The father asks the boy who he is. The boy says his name, and then the man is happy about his arrival, but understands why he is with Sif. He asks if he really has a date with his daughter and pretends to be serious. The girl asks him to leave it at that, asking what happened. They are in a difficult situation now. They are surprised by the arrival of a man who says that they are all noisy and asks how things are with money. The bald man who came is asked why he came here at all. This is Kazuya. He says that he came to visit him and remind him that he has owed him money for 3 months already. The man says that he will definitely return them, which is why they took on the huge order. Sifa asks one of her acquaintances what happened, and he explains that the merchant who placed the order suddenly disappeared. Kazuya asks him to quit, asking if he can't put it all together. He starts to worry. The guy doesn't want to think about the bad, but he wonders if his dealer could have suddenly screwed him over. The man asks if he was involved in this. He laughs and asks what made him think that. He has already given him enough deferments. He is a legal moneylender after all. Gio thinks he looks dubious. Sifa's father asks to wait a little longer. He will give everything back. Kazuya says that he is tired of waiting. He gave the forge as collateral. If he does not pay, he will dismantle everything here. The man shouts that the forge is important to him. It was passed down from his grandfather's time. He will not allow it to be destroyed. Kazuya says that instead of her, how about giving away his daughter, points his finger at her. The main character shouts at him not to dare say such stupid things. Everyone is surprised by this. Kazuya angrily walks towards the guy who thinks he blurted out something without thinking, but someone stops him. The man tells Kazuya that there is still some time before the appointed time, so let him go. Kazuya understands that he has caught him and says that he has 3 days. Let him prepare the money by that time. Someone tells the boss that he has contacted the Adventurers Guild again and again, but they don't know of a merchant by that name. The man thinks that all this time Kazuya himself was behind the order. He apologizes to Gio for dragging him in. He asks what the situation is. I wouldn't say that things are going well, but they have masters and a lot of clients, but there are problems with new clients. They went into the red. One evening he was in a tavern, and a money lender named Kazuya approached him. That's how they met. At first he thought he was a nice guy. Things were going well as they got an order from a fake merchant, but he stopped contacting them. The guys say he is too trusting. Because of him they ended up in this situation. They have no proof that Kazuya did it. The debt will be difficult to pay off. The main character thinks that something doesn't add up. Instead of trying to get money from him, he tries to prevent him from paying the debt. Does he really need a workshop? Or does he need it? Saifa, if only she could use the boss reward, but 3 days isn't enough. The main character says that they owe him so much, he could help them if not too much. The man says that the actual amount is 500 gold coins, showing 5 with his finger. Everyone is shocked that they have to somehow collect 500 gold coins in just 3 days. Saifa apologizes for asking for his help, but he wants to do his best to help. He thinks that Kazai's target may be Sifa. Even if he sells his harvest, he won't have time. Something else is needed. And at such moments he likes to discuss it with Liruka, but he doesn't know where she is. Tomorrow morning she will come for the harvest. However, he cannot afford to wait. He will try to find out about her in the Merchants Guild. There they tell him that she is an elusive trader. Even they don't know where she is. He asks where, at least approximately. However, she has no idea where she might be. Suddenly she appears herself and says that this is an unusual place to meet. The main character is surprised by her and says that he was just looking for her. He has some business with her. The girl listens to the guy and tells him that this sounds like a pretty serious matter. The main character wanted to show her something. The protagonist takes out a piece of shiny ore and shows it to the girl, who is surprised and realizes that it is gold ore. Geo explains that he grew it in the garden. The girl is shocked by this. Geo says that if he can sell a bunch of such ore, then will there be enough money to pay off the debt. The girl says that it won't be that easy, because the country and the lords control the mines where the gold is mined. If he sells in large quantities, he will be suspected of mining it illegally. He understands that this is a dead end again. She asks if there is more ore, namely mithril. It is mined in places with high mana content, out of reach of rulers. The guy can sell it, but the girl warns that selling it will raise suspicions. The girl says she has an idea. She asks how about entrusting this matter to her. The guy thinks that the debt repayment period is only 3 days. She asks the protagonist with a smile not to worry about it, but to just leave this matter to her, and he agrees. The guy is counting on her. The man stands in front of the money. That's all they could scrape together, but it's far from the full amount. It looks like they'll have to part with the workshop. Suddenly they are surprised by someone greeting them. It is the protagonist and Luruka. She introduces herself as a merchant. She came to make an order based on what Geo said. The man says they are closing. The girl says the client offered to pay before the work was done. He is surprised. Although Lyrica doesn't know if this will be enough to pay his debt, he needs to talk first, asking to look at something. The man is surprised by the mithril ore in such quantity. She has more in her magic bag. She will give it to them, and in exchange wants to order 200 sets of shields and swords. She shows the document, asking how about such an amount for everything. The man is surprised. An order for 200 sets is incredible, so they will have enough money to pay off the debt. The man realizes that it sounds too good to be true. He thinks they are trying to deceive him. He becomes serious. The girl calmly says that he may not trust her, because this is his first deal, but this deal was entrusted to her by Geo. Sifa turns to her father and says that everything is fine. She trusts him. The man understands that this guy is the one who stood up for her. The man agrees to the offer and says that he will put all his efforts, shakes hands with Lyrica, who is counting on him. She gives him a bag of money. The man is surprised that there are platinum coins in it. Saifa heard that they are more expensive than usual. They are used by nobles and merchants. Kazuya right now, but he's stopped. Just before leaving the house, Kazuya already meets a man and asks what the rush is. Kazuya stands with a few other guys and asks if he was planning to escape the city in the middle of the night. The man reminds him that today is payday, and it would be a real problem if he ran away. The man orders his daughter to stay here. Maybe they are targeting her. The boy says that it is best, let her stay in the workshop. Kazuya asks the blacksmith if he managed to collect the required amount by that day. The man says that his debt is 500 gold coins. The man shows 2 coins and says that this should be enough. Everyone is surprised. He is asked how he managed to get so much money in just 3 days. Lyrica raises her hand and announces that they just made a deal, even though she is just the middleman. Kazuya wonders what kind of little guy this is. He didn't expect to meet someone who could collect such a sum in just 3 days. He says that he completely forgot about the interest. The man asks again. Kazuya says that it is obvious to add them. How many times did he feel sorry for him and delay the payment? He says that he needs 1,500 gold coins. The man shouts that this is nonsense. Where did he get these numbers from? But this is the real amount of the debt. The man says that it is unlikely that the coins and the workshop will be enough to cover the entire debt, so he has no choice but to give up his daughter. The man gets angry and says that then he will have to kill him. They ask him not to get excited. They do not want to resort to a fight. The main character approaches a bald man and with a serious face says that he will never allow this to happen, and he is surprised. Kazuya gets angry and realizes that it's this guy again. He asks why he's getting involved in this. Is he completely tired of living? The guy says that it's connected to him in some way. The main character confidently says that this is because Sifa is his precious friend. The girl is surprised. The man grabs him and asks if he is ready to secure his dignity and endure all the pain of reality. Now they will find out. Lyrica stops them and says that she was unable to finish something. The client is. The girl shows the document and says that the client is the ruler of these lands. Everyone is shocked by this news. In the palace, someone at the table says that nothing can be done. They had to help out this Lyrica. The protagonist is surprised and understands what she means. The head of the provincial town of Arsal. After this, Kazuya takes her hand away from the guy and thinks about the seal, that there can be no doubt. Lyrica informs him that if he tries to take unfair payment from the workshop, it will reach the ears of the ruler. Kazuya's friends are angry and he grits his teeth and accepts the payment of 500 gold coins. Then the man tells them that it is time to leave. All four of them watch as they leave. The man anxiously asks the guy if he is injured. He is very surprised. Someone turns to Gio. The protagonist apologizes to Saifa for his behavior, but he is very glad that everything turned out well. The girl suddenly hugs the guy, which shocks him. Everyone looks at it and the girl thanks Gio. The guy is still in shock. He admits that nothing would have happened without Laruka. The man asks if she really received an order from the ruler. She is an amazing merchant. The girl was happy to help, considering how Gio actually tries for others. She tells him that he was very cool, showed himself to be a real knight. The guy realizes that he said something outrageous right in front of Saifa. The girl admits that she didn't hear anything, because she was quite far away. Gio is surprised. The man says that he saved them today. Saifa will have to express her gratitude again. The guy says that it is not necessary. A hug is more than enough. The main character thinks that the ordinary him would not be able to resist such a scary guy. Kazuya is angry, not understanding how he managed to get in his way. He spent a lot of time preparing, but now the plan failed. One of the guys tells him that he couldn't find her base no matter how hard he tried, but he found the most visited place. This is the house where the brother and sister who have recently reached adulthood live. That guy lives there. That's more than enough. We need to take him prisoner. The girl says that she made a new potion. She succeeded. It has a beautiful sky blue color. They both look at the bottle. She is asked about the effect of the potion. Dennis offers to try it. The girl in the maid costume says that this is the role of an assistant. Let her leave it to her. She drinks the bubble potion. Then the girl offers to dip her face in water while holding a bucket. The girl obeys and does it. Eyes widen when she realizes that she can breathe underwater. Dennis tells Marlene that it's amazing that she can breathe underwater. Marlene reports that this underwater potion, prepared from the flowers of the air, will make it possible to feel the same as on land even while underwater. TA asks if Gio brought these flowers. Yes, they did. The flowers only bloom at an altitude of several thousand meters above sea level, which is why it is a rare ingredient. However, she is still curious about where the guy gets such ingredients, so she turns to Marlene. She asks what she plans to do with this water and the bottle she drank from. She'd better pour it all out now, or better yet, she'd do it herself. Marlene says that she will need the water and that the bottle will become a precious family heirloom. Saifa enters the building, apologizing for the intrusion, and the girls are surprised at what someone brought. After this, Dennis pours out the water. Marlene cries from this and Dennis wishes Saifa welcome. Dennis asks the girl if she came for something specific. She prepares for the next trip. In that case, she is just in time because Marlene finished the potion. Milk smells a delicious smell. Gio tells Milk that it's time for lunch. He stands with food in his hands. The main character tells Milk that his favorite dish is fried mackerel. Sister asks that Milk has grown well, because recently he has started drinking not only milk, he has grown more than she imagined. Even though he is a cat, he has become big. The main character thinks that it is still a monster's egg, but does not think that Milk is dangerous since he is so attached to him. He hugs Milk and says that even though he has grown up, he is still spoiled. His sister says that he is cute and she also wants to pet him. However, Milk growls at her, and the guy tells Sina that apparently he doesn't love her. She asks why. The guy asks if she was going to the dungeon today. It's better if she eats, because she still has to prepare. What area are they going to explore? Everyone is at the entrance to the underwater area. They are at a disadvantage. They will have to hold their breath. However, now they have a water potion. They will see what it will be like, because the ice one was very effective. Then they calmly and all together, simultaneously, descend straight down under the water, descending to the depths. The girl is surprised that she can actually breathe. She can easily walk despite being underwater. Even her clothes don't get wet here. They can also hear each other perfectly. She looks at her partners. In addition, her hunting sense still works perfectly, and she felt the monster approaching. A ferocious shark with sharp fangs approaches them. The girls look at it and think that it is a big fish. One of them takes up her sword and the next moment attacks the shark, successfully killing it with one cut. Everyone thinks that Sina's swordsmanship hasn't diminished at all. They can definitely conquer this place. Marlene's potions never disappoint, and Gio helped with the ingredients, so they thought. Of course, they don't have any information about this dungeon, so they need to make a map of this place. They go to places and make a map. Then they walk through the passage and see underwater plants and fish, amazed at how beautiful it is here. The girls are wondering if this is a coral. If it weren't for the dungeon, this place would be a very profitable tourist spot. You have to be careful. There are monsters hiding here. One of them is hiding behind the corals. There are some fish here that even Gio doesn't grow. I wonder if they're tasty, but growing monsters is a bad idea. The girl says that they are not that dangerous. However, the problem with breathing underwater makes this place a difficult dungeon, but with water potions, it will be surprisingly very easy to conquer it. She notices something and asks to look. All three girls look in shock at the huge dark silhouette of some creature, wondering if it is the boss of the underwater area. Meanwhile, in Gio's house, it's already night outside. The main character is sleeping peacefully. Someone asks if this is the place, after which a positive answer follows. The dark figures in front of the house are discussing his sister's absence. So the moment is perfect. They only need to grab one boy, so let them quickly rush after him. After the door opened, Milk heard it and started growling, pulling the guy by his clothes. He woke up and asked him what was going on. Milk looked ahead and growled. The protagonist looks at the door ahead and wonders if it is Sina. However, it is definitely not her. But who are they? Suddenly, Milk roars and lunges forward, straight at the enemies, who try to fight back in shock, wondering if it's a cat. One of the guys takes out a knife, and the main character shouts to his pet to be careful. Milk calmly dodges the enemy's attack. After that, he scratches one of the opponents with his paw. They shout that this is clearly an unusual cat. They need to get out of here. The main character is stupefied, thinking about what it was. He asks Milk if he is wounded. The guy understands that Milk is telling him that the danger has not yet passed, and he needs to run to the garden. The main character goes outside with the cat and they are immediately noticed, saying that he is in the yard and they need to catch him. Gio manages to escape and he thinks about whether these guys are looking for him. If they catch him, then nothing good can be expected. The main character asks Milk not to worry because he has strong friends. Suddenly some golem appears. He attacks one of the guys. There is another golem behind the first one. They are shocked by what the golems are doing in such a place. One of the guys asks the others to calm down because there are only a few of them here, but there are more and more of them. The enemies are stunned by this. They ask how many of them are here. They ask them how much longer they will trample around with just one boy. The guys explain to the boss that golems have crawled out of nowhere. Gio is surprised that someone else has appeared. The golem wants to attack the guy, but he manages to react. He abruptly kills the golem and asks his minions about the problems they had with these pieces of clay. Is this a joke? His men are happy. The main character is shocked to realize that this is the same moneylender who came to take revenge for what happened. He dealt with the golem in one moment. One of the guys warns that no matter how hard you try, they will climb again, after which Kazuya deals with another golem. The man fights them and then notices the main character and Milk coming out from behind the tree. Kazuya understands that even he asking Gio whether this is his doing, no matter how many of them he creates, is all useless. The protagonist runs away and Kazuya asks if the guy thinks he can get away from him. How dare he waste his time? Colossal golem appears from behind a tree, which leaves Kazuya stunned. He asks what it is and is about to attack it. The man attacks the golem with a sword, but then looks on in shock as his sword simply breaks. He thinks that this is some kind of nonsense. He falls to the ground and thinks about where all these monsters came from. Kazuya appears and asks about his people having problems with these pieces of clay golems. The main character behind the tree is amazed at how strong this guy is. He cuts down the golems very easily. At this rate, he will kill them all. Milk turns to Gio and he agrees to move away, but what should they do? Because the golems don't even slow him down. The main character thinks that there must be some way out. Suddenly, the system suggests using a mega guard. Gio's home garden has reached level 20. Gio looks back and realizes that he still hasn't tried this skill, but the choice is still not great. He needs to try. The golem begins to form directly from the clay. The main character is surprised that he can make more of these mega guards. The system asks for permission every time, and the guy creates 3 more of the same golems. The man stops and looks at these guards in shock. The main character didn't even know that he could create such huge golems. It's good that it's the middle of the night, because they are standing right in the middle of the street. The man sits on the ground and looks at the golems in despair, thinking that this is some kind of nonsense. The protagonist orders the golems to throw the guy out of here, after which one of them reaches out his hand straight to Kazuya. The golem successfully grabs the guy, but he twitches and demands that the golem quickly let him go back. Kazuya looks down in shock and is amazed at the height. Then the golem lets go of him and he falls, hitting his back painfully on the ground. He coughs up blood and lies unconscious on the ground. All his men approach him in shock. 2 of them take it and they all think that this is complete madness. Not a garden, so they need to get out of here. Nothing good will happen to them here. After that, they all run away. The protagonist silently looks forward, then at the golem and asks if there is no more threat. Milk begins to happily rub against the owner's leg, which makes Gio happy. The guy thanks his pet and the mega guards, telling them what he would do without them. At the same time, in the underwater area, many types of fish swim in the water. 3 girls get out and sit on land. One of them says that she simply can't believe that the boss was such a colossal monster. It was about 100 meters long. She shouldn't have taken unfamiliar terrain lightly. Saifa asks her if she thinks they can beat him. The girl says that yes, she thinks he will be very tasty, but that is not what they should think about now, but she agrees, so far everything has been going smoothly. They eventually decide to do some more mapping before heading back. They won't be fighting the boss yet. He's so big they'll know when he's coming, and they also have Annie's gift. First you need to drink the potion. One girl gives it to another, she thanks. The third one thinks that for such a big monster his presence seems somehow too strange, maybe they really imagined him. The girls walk underwater and then say that they have probably explored enough, so now they can safely return to the surface, finally go home. They agree to keep their guard up on the way back, as they will need a strategy against the boss the next time they come here, after which all three look ahead in surprise and stop. A huge black sea monster appears right in front of them, and they are so afraid that they cannot move. The girls are thinking about how it is possible that he suddenly appeared right in front of them. She didn't sense him with her hunting instinct. Then they decide to run away from here, but they realize that this monster is chasing them. He opens his mouth and starts sucking water into himself. The girls look back and understand that at this rate he will swallow them. Suddenly Sypha stops, which shocks both girls, and she says that he doesn't seem too scary. The girl states that the volcano was not like that. Sypha stretches her hand forward and uses the power of the Empress, a gift that weakens enemies, but the stronger the enemy, the less effective this gift is. Therefore, against such a gigantic opponent, he may be of little use. The girl notices something and asks them to look there. They watch in shock as he begins to fall apart. They realize that his body is beginning to fall apart. Sypha admits that she knew it all along. It's not really one massive fish. The monster keeps disintegrating. In fact, it was a school of small fish. There are a lot of them. The girls are surprised and understand that this is why his presence was so weak that she did not feel anything. The girl grabs her sword. The girls stand in front of a school of fish and realize that in reality it was all just a deceptive performance. However, they ask not to be careless, because most likely there is a leader among them, a bigger fish. One of the girls steps forward. She is going to take care of all the fish at once. She stretches her hand with magic forward and says that she will take care of the support. She asks the small fish to bow before her. After the fish listen to the girl and swim straight towards them, another girl attacks them with a sword. The girl reports that it seems that the Empress's power is putting them at a disadvantage. Their movements have become quite sluggish, so they will gradually reduce their numbers. After this, the fish move straight towards the girls and some of them crash into them, causing them to scream. They realize that this huge school of fish is heading straight for them. She can't keep using her punch like that. The girls watch as the fish gather together again. It looks like the fish are coming back again. The girl is trying to entice the small fish to come to her. The girls again, and they understand that things are really bad. If they continue to attack them like this, they will be in danger. They are in a lot of pain. The girl notices the largest fish among all and realizes that it is all her, after which she successfully cuts this fish in half with a sword. The fish makes a death rattle, and after its death all the little fish start to run away. All the girls notice this. They discuss how they all suddenly scattered, whether it's all over. The girl who killed the fish tells them that when she killed that fish, everyone else scattered. This slave was undoubtedly the main one among them, controlling all the others. The girls were surprised by this. Sina is asked how she even noticed her in this swarm of fish and killed her. She says that she just noticed her briefly and instinctively cut her in two. She smiles. The girl's friends praise her for her unrivaled skill. They tell her that she is amazing. The girl laughs awkwardly. In the end, they discuss whether he was the boss of this zone. Most likely yes. However, appearances were deceiving. However, he still turned out to be strong. Sina's whole body hurts. Then they go into the passage, as they need to return to the guild and report everything. At the guild, they are immediately met by a happy girl who tells Sypha that she is just in time. All the girls are surprised. Sypha asks Canalia what happened, and she tells him that she has great news, that they were able to conquer the volcanic region the other day. Due to their achievements, some people are very interested in meeting them. The girls are surprised by this. Sif reports that they have completed the conquest of the underwater region. First, Canalia reacts calmly and then screams in shock at the news. The girl is shocked and says that she is simply speechless as to how they managed to achieve something so unprecedented in such a short period of time. Now they will definitely receive a warm welcome. The person who wants to meet them is the ruler of Arsel himself. The girls are shocked that it is the ruler himself. Canalia says that they were invited directly to the castle. One of them says that this is an important person, asks if they have met with rulers. However, for commoners like them, they are unattainable. They can be compared to flying to the clouds. Canalia says that thanks to their conquest of the volcanic region, it has become a very popular destination for other adventurers. And it seems that the region's economy is experiencing a boom thanks to the influx of valuable raw materials. This is the first time the ruler wishes to meet such young adventurers, perhaps because of their high contribution, although it is all thanks to the pharmacist who created the potion. Cornelia says that this is why she was also invited. She is very withdrawn and she is uncomfortable with such news. Gio's sister asks what about her brother, but her friend shuts her up by saying that Gio's garden is a secret. Cornelia tells them that she understands that this is unexpected, but they need to be back at the castle for dinner in 5 days. Saifa says that this won't be a problem since they'll be taking a break after conquering the underwater region. The girls are happy that the vacation has come. They agree to see each other in 5 days and part ways on the street. Gio's sister is walking down the street thinking about how well she's done as an adventurer, so she can relax and let Gio spoil her. The protagonist holds a plate of food in his hands and reflects on the fact that nothing has happened since that incident, but since then Milk has not been able to relax. The main character remembers those bandits and thinks that he doesn't even know whether they gave up their attempts or not. There is a possibility that they may come back and attack again, and the hay is still late. Have they really captured it? Suddenly, a creaking sound is heard and the main character and Milk get scared. Suddenly, Milk runs forward and the guy thinks about whether it is them again. However, it is actually Sina. She is surprised that Milk is suddenly so energetic. The main character is happy about her arrival. The protagonist is happy that she is fine. Today she is later than usual. Sina explains to her brother that something suddenly happened to her, but now she is resting for a few days. The main character reassures Milk that everything is fine because it's just Sina, she's not an enemy. The cat notices this. The girl asks if something happened to them. The guy tells the girl the whole situation and she, shocked, asks again whether he was attacked at night. She questions him about whether he is okay and whether he is injured. However, Gio explains to her that Milk and the golems successfully protected him. However, after this they could not sleep normally, because they did not know when to expect the next attack. The girl listens to all this and understands everything. She guesses that apparently the problem is serious. Who were the attackers? The main character reports that among them stood out a rough guy, bald and with tattoos. He skillfully wields a sword. The golems were a target for him. The guy tells Sina that she should be careful, let her barricade the door to her room at night. They can also attack outside the house. The sister asks him not to worry because she can stand up for herself. The guy says that even though she is an adventurer, she is still inexperienced. She is so casual. The girl also tells Gio that she will soon go to a meeting with the ruler of the city. He asks in shock what she did, but the girl reassures him that she was invited. Morning comes. Gio stands with the golem and Milk and talks about using the magic stone Sina brought and strengthening the garden again. He wonders if Sina is sleeping, since she is working as an adventurer. The main character convinces himself that he must do everything so that she does not overdo it. Mega golems are certainly strong, but you can't use them during the day. He thinks about if there is another way, if he had something to drive away Kazai. He thinks about the magic stone. He learned a new skill. He can grow new crops. Then the main character remembers the fact that he had previously acquired a skill that he never tried, and he wants to do it now. The guy uses the movement between the gardens and is surprised that he can escape using teleportation. The system asks if he wants to move. Gio agrees, but he cannot do it. The guy thinks that this is only for the moment, and when he can, then he needs to look at another skill. Then the guy wants to use the garden movement skill. The system asks if he wants to move into movement mode. Gio agrees in confusion. Then the ground beneath him begins to shake. Milk runs to the guy in fear. He asks in shock what happened and notices a house in front of him. The main character looks and realizes that the neighboring house has become slightly smaller. But this can't be. The guy approaches the house and sees that he is standing on new land, which shocks him. The system asks the guy if he wants to move the garden. The guy says that it's just a little bit closer to it. The house appears right in front of him and the guy shouts for him to go back. Then the house moves back and the protagonist is amazed by this ability. He can't use the garden move to escape from them. It will stand out more than the mega golems. He thinks that these skills are too problematic, but as for crops, he thinks he can grow something incredible. The protagonist sees a list of choices consisting only of colors, causing him to fall to the ground in despair. The protagonist sadly admits that none of this will be useful to him, and suddenly Milk licks the guy's cheek. The guy looks at Milk and Golem in surprise and realizes that they are trying to cheer him up. The main character says that if something happens again, they will make every effort to cope with it. He is counting on them. Then he stands silently and realizes that he is still a little scared, but now Sina is here. The main character understands for himself that he cannot allow himself to be afraid, because he must protect her. The girl stands behind him and hears this. The guy suddenly realizes that it's time for her to wake up. He goes home and turns to Sina. as if he was telling her to break down the barricade, but she calmly opens. The protagonist enters the room and sees only an empty pastel. He again turns to his sister in surprise. Kazuya runs out of breath and punches the wall in anger, remembering Gio, promising that he will pay for everything. In such an advantage they fled, frightened, unable to cope with some child. They were always good at talking. But in fact they themselves did not see these golems and would not have done anything to them. Not only was he stripped of his position, but even his subordinates had turned against him. Now that he had been kicked out of the organization, his life was in danger. He knew too much about them. He was ordered to get rid of Gio. The man understands that this is all because of the brat, but he can't just go and enter this strange house. Maybe he should just wait until he comes out onto the street. He notices a girl coming out of the house and remembers that he once heard that Gio supposedly lives with his adventurous sister. He understands that the girl, who has just grown up, will be ideal. He uses her to lure this boy out. Then he follows her and goes into an empty alley. He realizes that it couldn't be better. He turns to the girl who is standing with her back to him. Kazuya tells Sina that she better not make noise if she doesn't want to die, and the girl describes the man's appearance. The girl turns to him and asks with a smile if it was he who attacked her brother. The man is surprised by this. He doesn't understand what's wrong with her. Asks if she heard about him from her brother. She agrees. He says that then it simplifies everything. From now on she will obediently do everything she says. The girl calmly says that she doesn't want to. Kazuya pulls out a sword and tells her that she doesn't yet realize what situation she's gotten herself into. The girl tells him that she thinks that he should realize the situation he has found himself in. Suddenly the girl strikes, the man drops his sword, his shoulder starts bleeding. Blood drips onto the ground. He is shocked to think about what just happened. He didn't see anything at all. The girl comes up to him and tells him that he put her brother in danger. It is unforgivable to put his brother in such fear. While they are near, he cannot sleep peacefully. The man falls back in shock and asks the girl to stand for a second. He is afraid of the girl. She points her sword at him and tells him to never dare to approach her brother. Kazuya thinks that approaching her and her brother was a mistake. The main character turns to Sina excitedly. She asks him what happened. The guy says that he wanted to ask where she was. She replies that she took a little walk. The guy tells her that he told her yesterday that it was dangerous to go out alone. And what if she were attacked? The girl says that she met Kazuya and the guy is shocked by this. The girl tells him that he can calm down because he promised not to bother him anymore. He asks her if she was seriously in danger. The girl agrees and the guy is happy. The protagonist wonders if he just gave up or if she really is absurdly strong. Sina asks Gio if he can relax now, and now she has a lot of sleep ahead of her. The guy understands that this is true. The girl asks the guy not to worry, because she will always protect him. The guy doesn't even know how to feel about the fact that his younger sister is protecting him. She tells him that everything is fine because he is so kind and weak in fact. The main character enters the room and wakes up Sina, saying that he has an important meeting today. The girl suddenly remembers this and realizes that today she has a meeting with the ruler of Arsal. The man in the suit and the maids greet the girls. They wish them welcome, thank them for coming. He asks Sifu, Annie, Sina, and Marlene to follow him. The girls walk and look around, amazed at how huge this place is. Everything here is so luxurious and shiny. They discuss that they are a little nervous. They are wondering what this ruler is like. They say this someone became a ruler just a couple of years ago. Saifa says that she would like to discuss something with him. She looks back at the girl who has fallen behind. Marlene thinks that she wants to go home. Why is she here? She is reminded that the ruler has recognized her great contribution. She says that it would be better if they let Dennis come with them, but he was not invited. Marlene asks why, because Dennis contributes every day, inspiring and refreshing her. The man says that they came. He comes in and says that the guests have arrived. The girl in the room thanks them for coming. She says that she is the ruler of Elizabeth Arsal. She wishes them a warm welcome. All three are surprised at how beautiful she is. But Sina says it out loud, and the girls ask her not to be so rude in front of the ruler. Saifa asks Elizabeth if they have met before. One of the girls thinks that this cannot be. After this, Elizabeth confesses that she saw Sina just a few days ago. She is also happy to finally take care of the excellent pharmacist she has heard so much about. Marlene gets scared and hides behind Saifa's back. Suddenly the girls realize something and compare Elizabeth and the adventurer Eliza, realizing that they are the same person. Elizabeth is glad that they finally noticed. This woman they met in the dungeon turned out to be the ruler, but how to understand this? The girl talks about how if a ruler does nothing but management work, then his body weakens, so sometimes she likes to stay active in the role of an adventurer named Eliza. The man had never heard of the Viscountess becoming a ruler and adventurer all in one. Elizabeth says that it is also useful for their knights to undergo combat training. The girl thinks and understands that this means that her group were knights from the castle, and that is how they achieved B rank. Elizabeth says that's not true, in fact. As a teenager she ran away from home and traveled the world. It was during this time that she was promoted to B rank. However, 5 years ago, at the age of 30, her older brother died. She wanted to continue being an adventurer, but she had no choice but to return home and take the place of the ruler. Sorry that the story dragged on longer. Elizabeth reveals that she invited them here because they have contributed greatly to the economic growth of the territory with their amazing achievements in the dungeon, for which she wants to thank them. One of the 4 girls says that they are honored. Elizabeth says that she heard that they also conquered an underwater area the other day. That is admirable. She would like them to tell her about their heroic saga in detail over dinner. They come to a luxurious table and are surprised that it all looks like a whole feast. There's so much going on, they can't believe they can taste the food from the castle. Sina says it's delicious and her friend asks them to watch their manners, but Elizabeth says it's okay. The girl says that her best chefs put all their effort and soul into these dishes, so let them eat as much as they want. One of them tries the meat and is amazed by the taste. Because the meat is so juicy, it just melts in your mouth. Sifa thinks that the soup looks delicious and smells wonderful. She tries it and calls it very tasty. She is also surprised by the fish dishes. The fish itself costs a lot of money at the market, but she is not surprised that it is present on the ruler's table. Marlene says that Dennis's cheeks are tastier, are reminded of something by the freshness and rich taste of these ingredients. Elizabeth asks what is wrong, what dish they did not like, but it is not so. They are very tasty. The dishes were masterfully prepared, but she thought that even the ingredients themselves were incredible. Elizabeth admits her she buys all the ingredients from a merchant. However, she does not say where she gets all this from. The girls understand that these are ingredients grown by Geo. Saifa can't believe that everything he grew made it here. She can't be allowed to see the garden, they knew it. Marlene sits and Mrs. Dennis. They finish their meal and Elizabeth asks if they ate well. They agree and say that it was very tasty, thanking the ruler. Elizabeth says that now, based on their achievements, she would like to present them with an award. Whatever they want. The girls think that they thought that this feast was a reward. The man turns to the ruler and tells her that Luruka is here, but she is busy with guests now. Let him ask what she needs and say that the time is not right. However, she is familiar with their guests. Elizabeth asks if the girls know the merchant Lurukaliria. They understand that it is Luruka. Elizabeth asks the man to bring her here. He obeys. Saifa asks Elizabeth a few words which surprises her. She talks about how she recently saved her father's forge. She thanks her. She placed an order to produce mithril weapons using Luruka as a middleman. Elizabeth is surprised that it was made by her father. It was a simple purchase, agreed to on the condition that he would receive it the next day. The quality was excellent. She was delighted to get her hands on a mithril weapon at such a low price. But for Saifa, this amount was huge. Where did they get so much mithril from? Saifa says that Luruka put it. Luruka comes inside and greets them, saying that it looks like they are all already here. They were just talking about the mithril weapon that Elizabeth bought the other day. She didn't know that it was the work of the Sifa family. She asks that she gave them mithril and in that case she was not paid. Luruka says not to worry. The girl makes a gesture to be quieter. The girls understand that that garden can even grow mithril. Elizabeth asks the vendor why she is here today. She says that she heard that she invited the girls here. Elizabeth asks if everyone has decided on the reward they want to receive, but they haven't yet. Luruka asks the girls if they would be okay with hearing her idea. The ruler thinks about what Luruka is putting into their heads. Marlene wants to go home. The girls tell Luruka that the idea is good. They all approach Elizabeth because they have already decided. She is surprised by their offer. In the main character's house, food is being prepared. The boy feeds the milk and thinks about what kind of food they serve in the castle. He thinks that there is a feast there, the likes of which a commoner like him has never seen. The protagonist is amazed by the taste of ordinary food, and yet still can't believe that they were invited to the castle. Being promoted to B rank at such an age is impressive, but it feels like Sifa is becoming further and further away from him, while Sina is very lucky to be invited by the ruler himself. Well, now it's time for him to work in the garden. The harvest can be sent to Lucas, and as soon as the new harvest ripens, it can be sent to Luruka. I would like to plant something else, but there is no space. He walks through the garden and hears his sister's voice saying that she has already returned home. He is surprised. The protagonist hears the voices of Luruka and Annie. He needs to keep Milk a secret from the others. He asks him to hide in the garden. Saifa apologizes for coming uninvited. He is surprised by her arrival. The guy asks what they are doing here. Weren't they invited to the castle? The girls tell him something, and the main character is surprised that the ruler gave them the right to some land. Yes, as a reward, a piece of land that no one uses. He asks what they will do with it. The girls say that they will give it to him. They want him to use it to expand the garden. He is shocked by this. Luruka says that she suggested it and everyone agreed. The girls explain that everything turned out this way thanks to Gio. He not only helped them but also saved Sifa's father's workshop, as well as Sister Annie's restaurant. They want to thank him. The guy awkwardly says that he may have helped a little, but they did all the hard work. Annie says his garden's achievements should not be made public, so he deserves this award. It's a show of public attention. His garden may be a secret, but he is still incredible, his sister admits. The protagonist thanks the girls and says that nothing could make him happier than accepting this gift. Saifa asks if he will find a use for the gift. The guy agrees. With each level the possible size of the garden increases, so it would be convenient to have a larger area. He notices Milk. All the girls notice him and the guy thinks that he asked him to hide. When did he manage to appear? Luruka is surprised that it is a snow panther. They ask what the monster is doing in such a place. The guy asks them to stop, explaining that it is actually his pet Milk. The guy hugs Milk and says that he is not dangerous at all. They understand that he is completely attached to him. Sina thinks that he seemed too big for a cat. They ask where he got it from. The protagonist reveals that he can also grow monster eggs in his garden. Someone asks if they are sure that this skill can be developed further. Gio can start breeding monsters en masse. Gio will not use it for bad. He needs to take more measures to make sure that no one finds out about the garden. Luruka says that this land is outside the city. In exchange for the fact that no one lives there, it is teeming with monsters. You will have to walk. The land should be vast. The ruler turned out to be very generous. They were lucky that there was free territory. The main character thinks about what the land given to him by his friends is like. Then they finally arrived and looked in shock at the gloomy land, realizing that it was a swamp. Elizabeth asks if they want land that is uninhabited, spacious, unused, and has a choice of being out of town. If they are sure, they don't mind from its location. Although they themselves set such conditions, they never expected that it would turn out to be a swamp. They realize that it's still infested with monsters. It's definitely not a place to grow anything. They didn't tell her how they would use the land. It meets their requirements. What does Gio think? He thinks, will it be possible to grow anything here? The system asks the guy if he wants to mark the garden. He understands that this place would also be suitable. The garden is marked. The main character says that it is perfect. The guy understands that everything happened in an instant. The monsters did not go anywhere. They worried in vain. For the first time, the pioneers of this land would come to Yast. They understand that this garden is simply huge. He chose a random size. Will this be enough? The girls agree with Gio. He used only 100 square meters. Now the number has increased 200 times. Plus, he has no idea how to use all the space available to him to start planting. He thinks that he got this garden thanks to everyone's hard work. He understands something. He agrees with something several times and the girls wonder who he is talking to. They have no idea. They notice that the monsters are heading towards them. Apparently they are angry because of the loss of their home. They need to move back. The main character asks the girls not to worry and creates a mega guardian, which the monsters are afraid of. The girls are shocked and ask what it is. Since the garden is so big, they need to make a couple more guards. In this way, they themselves will calmly clear the garden from monsters. The girls are shocked by this. Gio thinks what to do now. The protagonist builds a wall to protect the garden using a protective wall generator and hides the garden so that no one can find it. Now he can use the teleporter between the gardens, telling the girls that he will be back soon. Annie thinks that this is complete nonsense. This is a home garden. She is told that thinking about it too much will lead to nothing. The main character finds himself at home and is surprised. He thought so. This allows him to move between different gardens. The guy imagines that the new area is quite far away. But with this skill it will be easy to get there. He will take food with him and return. Milk comes up to him. He asks him if he wants to go with him. The guy hugs Milk and uses a teleport between the gardens. The girls are surprised that the guy suddenly appeared. And with Milk, he tells the pet that he can run around here in peace. The girls notice that he has grown even more since last time. The guy can instantly move between different gardens, so he came back home for a while. It sounds convenient, an incredible gift. The guy says that the golems seem to have finished with the monsters. He thought that since they were here, it wouldn't hurt to have a snack. So he grabbed some meat for the barbecue. He cooks the meat and asks the girls to come. They eat and are surprised by the taste. Having a barbecue in the open air is not so bad. The girls notice that something is suddenly blooming. All the flowers in the meadow are starting to open. They are amazed by the whole field of flowers. Ask Gio if he did it. He tells the girls that this is his gratitude to them. It was thoughtful. Sifa says that it is wonderful. She thanks him. Even Milk happily runs through the flowers. The main character runs after him and shouts at him not to trample his flowers. He laughs, thinking that thanks to all of them he has this new huge garden. In order to avoid confusion, he decided to call the first garden first, and the second second. The protagonist also collected flowers and gave them to Luruka. The protagonist announces that, before he begins to seriously grow plants in the second garden, he better decide what to do with all the bodies of these monsters that the golems killed. The swamp monsters can only produce ingredients that are of little use. It feels like processing them would be more expensive than the benefit they provide. The protagonist thinks that he can give the golems a command to simply remove them somewhere. The system asks Gia if he wants to absorb the monsters. He thinks about what is meant by absorption and agrees, after which the absorption occurs and the protagonist is surprised that all the bodies have disappeared. The system informs him that the level has increased. New plants are available. He says that the result is the same as when absorbing magic stones. Come to think of it, he heard that monsters also had magic stones in their bodies, so it seemed like the home garden sensed them and swallowed the bodies whole. Gio thinks and says that this means that if he kills more monsters, he will continue to level up. The main character has a great idea. Some smoke appears and the main character says that maybe he has put too much. This is the incense to attract monsters that he bought from Marlene. Although she didn't look very good, she's been like this since she returned from the castle. Then the main character decides to remove one of the walls and you can begin. One wall disappears. The monsters sniff the scent and walk straight towards the protagonist, growling as they do so. He is surprised that they are approaching and gives the golems the command to attack them. One golem defeats two bears at once with one blow. The system asks if the guy wants to absorb the monsters and the guy agrees to it. The protagonist is happy that he needs to continue. Another group of monsters is already coming here. His idea has proven itself to be excellent. At first, the main character wants to attract the monsters. Let the golems deal with them, which is what they do. And then the garden absorbs their bodies. The level of his garden automatically increases. All he needs is to change the incense on time. Until this moment, Sina had to bring him magic stones. But this way, he will be able to increase the level of the garden without help. He is happy that this gift is becoming more and more useful, and he wishes more and more monsters would come sooner. Several days pass. The action takes place several dozen kilometers west of Arsal. In a monster-infested forest of death, there are several people who have set up camp there. They discuss that this time it went pretty well. How about exploring a little deeper next time? But the guy denies it, because it's better to be careful and see how things turn out. He knows this place is dangerous, but the deeper they go, the denser the mana becomes. What kind of monsters could be hiding there? Suddenly, all the monsters run in one direction because of something. The guy thinks about whether it was an underground tremor. The girl heard something coming from the forest. At first, they think that the earth is shaking, but in fact it turns out that someone is running. People start running away from the monsters, who are running in a huge crowd straight at them. This is a monster invasion. From above they watch how many monsters there are. Things are bad if they continue the march. Then people will be in their way. He tells the guy that he must overtake and warn the people. After all, if they continue to run straight east, then Arsal will be in danger. Elizabeth puts the seal and sighs with relief, because there is so much paperwork today. The man says it's because the number of business transactions and territorial contracts has increased. Elizabeth says she knows it's the ghost of Arsal's growth, but she'd like to do some dungeon exploration. The man tells her that she can do this after all the documents are sealed, and the report she requested has also arrived. She asks if this is about the swamp. The man agrees and says that according to the military investigation, the entire area has turned into a wasteland. She is surprised by this. According to them, there was no vegetation there as before, no monsters that lived there before. And also when they approached it, their path was blocked by an invisible wall. One wonders what it all means. They're still not sure, but it's likely that someone put a barrier there. The reason she chose this place as a reward was because she didn't have to worry about the servants or subjects getting negative reactions, and she wanted to test them. They were able to do it in such a short time. The girl thinks that Luruka is as cunning as she is trustworthy, and she doesn't think that Saifa and her friends are the kind of people who would harm others. While they don't jump to conclusions, they need to continue observing. She starts doing paperwork again. A guy bursts into the room shouting about a procession. A huge crowd of monsters from the west is moving towards their city. Elizabeth is shocked by this. Meanwhile, the main character is in his garden, absorbing another portion of monsters, and asks if that's all for today. Must have killed all the monsters in the area, and at the same time, he was able to raise his level decently to 31. Since he passed level 30, the garden's space limitation began to display a strange symbol. He doesn't understand what it means, but it's an infinity sign. And more cultures became available to him. He studied the castle wall generator. which is a derivative of the defensive wall generator. Does this mean that he can now make walls higher? The system asks if he wants to generate castle walls. He agrees, and a huge wall is erected in front of him. The protagonist is amazed that these walls may be even larger than the walls of Arsal. However, they are practically not needed in the garden. He removes them and says that it will soon be time to harvest the first garden. The protagonist hears a noise and asks what is going on there. People are running and shouting that it is dangerous to stay at the western gate. They all run for cover, namely to the church. The guy asks people what all the fuss is about. They explain to him that a procession of monsters is heading towards the city. The soldiers have already stood up to defend, but there are many of them. Even the city limits may be in danger. It is worth leaving this area. Geo understands that everything is serious. Sina and the others have gone in search of adventures. Geo cannot take milk to the shelter. The guy says that if it gets too dangerous, they can teleport to the second garden. He said that they are heading to the western gate. He could climb the mega golem and check the situation. The main character climbs onto the golem. He is surprised by the height and looks forward, noticing something. He is amazed by the huge number of monsters. The procession and the transmissions of visibility, there could be more than 1,000 of them there. The girl shouts to everyone not to hesitate and take their positions. They will protect the city and its inhabitants. People ask if adventurers will come to help. She sent a request to the guild, but most are doing research. She thinks that because everyone left for the regions, this disaster fell on them at the wrong time. However, not everyone is pessimistic. 200 of their soldiers are equipped with custom-made mithril weapons and armor. Also, all the soldiers are in high spirits. They stand confidently in new armor and with new weapons. The commander shouts at them to hold formation as they are approaching. The enemy is numerous, but will reach their positions in a scattered formation. We need to get in line and attack them with a concentrated offensive. They must hold them back. After this, people and monsters clash in battle. The girl watches this and worries about her warriors. She believes that they will cope. 2 warriors kill 1 monster. Surprised by the sharpness of the sword, they will kill 10 monsters with such. The bear attacks the warrior, who blocks the blow with his shield. He is asked if he is okay. He replies that the shield and armor successfully withstood. They shout that mithril is good. It is very durable. You need to cast aside doubts and restrain them. A squad of magicians prepare fire from fireballs. Fireballs fly straight at the monsters. A bunch have already been killed. They believe that they will definitely hold them back. But one of the knights says that even so, they cannot avoid injuries. He asks if they have healing potions. They tell him that the ruler has bought a large stock for emergencies and that they are as effective as mid-grade potions. The monsters are attacking again. Another wave of monsters has arrived. Their numbers have now increased. The commander shouts for the wounded to retreat and for the rear soldiers to take their positions, holding the line as long as possible. One guy carries a wounded man and tells the doctors that they need help. The warrior apologizes and they tell him not to worry, he will feel better soon. The doctor is surprised that the wound has reached the very bones. He understands that this is a fatal wound, and a mid-range potion won't be able to cope with such a wound. He asks for the potion to help and drips it directly onto the wound, after which the guy's body begins to glow. The wound heals and the doctor is surprised that this warrior has completely healed. The guy is happy and thinks that he used a high-class potion on him. He can immediately return to the battle. The knights are going to attack the monsters. The doctors look at the guy in shock and think that it was definitely a middle-class potion. Marlene says with disgust that there are too many people here. Dennis says that they had no other choice. The city is dangerous. The girl screams to her mother that she is in pain. Her mother asks her to be patient. Dennis asks what happened. It turns out that she fell. Dennis asks her not to cry. Everything will be fine. He drips some potion on the wound and everything goes away. Dennis points to Marlene and says that she made it. She is a pharmacist. They thank her, saying that it was amazing. Dennis didn't want to go to the shelter in this outfit. The girl informs everyone that there is water and food here. No need to panic. Alicia is thanked for her help. She is surprised by Billy, who is carrying a barrel. He asks if everything is okay. She asks him if Sypha is currently dealing with adventurers' affairs with Sina and Annie. He agrees and she sighs. However, she did not see Geo anywhere. The man says that he could not stay at home in such a situation. Perhaps he is in another shelter. She asks him if he thinks the city will be okay. He hopes that the armor and weapons will be useful to the soldiers. All they can do now is pray. Elizabeth understands that the warriors are holding on thanks to their mithril armor and healing potions. But even so, they only manage to deal with a fifth of them. She's not sure if they can hold out if they all start approaching at once, and special monsters have arrived. The battle lion, the blood elephant, and the murderous scorpion. They are all A-rank monsters. Will the soldier be able to deal with them all? The girl is surprised that the fighting lion is heading here. straight towards the soldiers who don't see him. However, they notice him and say that they must intercept him, but he attacks them and breaks their equipment. Suddenly, Elizabeth appears, attacks the lion with one blow and saves her warriors. The boys are surprised by this and shout to the ruler to be careful, because this monster is different from the others. The warrior asks her to leave. It is dangerous on the front lines, but the girl understands this. She can no longer stand aside and watch. Suddenly, a bloody elephant appears, rushing towards the gate. The girl realizes that he is running and trying to destroy the gate. He managed to bend the gate. People shout that he broke through their ranks. They need to drive him away, but he is too huge. The girl understands that at this rate, this entire horde of monsters will soon fill her city. The protagonist looks and understands that things are getting worse. At first it seemed that the soldiers were gaining the upper hand, but now it is only a matter of time before the monsters break through. It is better to leave here quickly. Geo wonders if he can just watch this as the city he grew up in collapses. Moreover, due to such a gigantic horde, even shelters may simply not be able to withstand it. The main character says that there is something else he can do. He asks Milk if he is with him. He uses the movement between the gardens to the second garden and then runs somewhere. The guy climbs right up the wall and the system asks him if he wants to move the garden. He agrees and orders the wall to move straight ahead. The wall moves with him in his direction. Senna turned around. She felt something strange. Her eyes looked worried. Saifa asked her what had happened. She replied that nothing. She had simply thought she had heard a jolt. The other girl asked if her words were true. And then she suggested going deeper today. The girls reluctantly agreed, although they wanted to quickly return home and taste Geo's signature dishes. There was destruction all around. Someone was shouting that everything was happening faster. The system responded that this was the maximum speed. The stranger again told her to stop talking and run as fast as she could. However, this was the maximum speed. Geo shouted at Milk to hold on as tight as possible. They were rushing somewhere at great speed. The hero raised his gaze. There was something smoking ahead, and he said that he saw a procession at the western gate. He thought that there were quite a few soldiers there. It would be bad if they saw his garden, but he didn't worry about that now. He decided to turn off the garden hiding in the system and asked to hide only himself. The system reported that the garden hiding was turned off. Part of the garden was hidden. The young man felt something and looked at his hands. He said that maybe it would be enough. He had no idea how much though. Milk meowed approvingly. The young man commanded them to go forward. A huge monster resembling an elephant with large ears and a long trunk was breaking into the western gate. The soldiers stand in combat readiness and understand that things are bad. The gates are almost broken. Outside the gates, a battle was taking place between the animals and the people. The soldiers were shouting that they could not regroup. However, they must not give up. They had to take as many lives as possible from these creatures. The animals were aggressive. The girl fought with the scorpion and cursed these monsters. She thinks that they are still advancing on them. They won't be able to hold them back any longer. She looks at the gate, which is barely holding up. Suddenly, one of the scouts noticed something in the distance. The girl noticed his reaction and asked what it was. She suggested that they were monsters. He shouts that it is a wall. The wall is moving towards them. It is approaching with astonishing speed. The people are confused by the fact that the wall is moving. They have no idea what to do. The girl stands with her mouth open. She doesn't understand anything. How can the wall move? Does it intend to crush them? Is it an enemy? Could this wall be their ally? Suddenly, someone from behind the wall shouted at them to run. Everyone is shocked that the wall is talking. The girl realized that this was their ally, and she told them to retreat back. The soldiers obeyed and ran in the opposite direction from the monsters. Geo is glad that it looks like they got the message. Now all that's left is to deal with all these monsters. Before they could break through the gate, we had to move there as quickly as possible and block the way to the gate with a wall. He ordered full speed ahead. The wall crashed into the monsters at high speed. The hero was going to ram them. The animals screamed and growled. They flew in all directions. And the next moment, the wall stopped a couple of meters from the western gate. The hero did everything in his power. The girl and the knights watched what was happening. A huge farm stopped right next to the city. The girl noticed that she had stopped. People did not understand what was happening. The scout shouted that this blow had just defeated about half of the monsters. Mountains of bodies lay on the ground, showing no signs of life. The soldiers began to rejoice. People understand that something incredible has happened, and this is out of about 1,000 powerful monsters. They are saved. The girl noticed that this was a real miracle. She had the feeling that the wall had become even higher. Standing behind another part of the wall, Geo sighs heavily. It seems they were able to stop them. However, because of the wall, he cannot see what is happening. The wall became smaller and the girl noticed it. However, she didn't have time to understand what was happening. one of the monsters started to rise and she noticed it. The huge elephant stopped and howled. The young man realized that one of them had managed to survive. The knight noted that this monster is tenacious, although the western gate is blocked by a wall. The elephant started moving straight towards the wall. The knights noticed it. Geo also noticed it. And so he snapped his fingers and allowed the elephant to enter. The monster passed through the wall. The girl and the knights are perplexed. The elephant found himself in the protagonist's garden. He did not understand what was happening. However, the main character did not let him deal with the situation and ordered the mega golems to take the life of this monster. They started beating him, and Milk said that the threat was eliminated. Geo decided to lure the remaining surviving monsters into the garden and deal with them in the same way. The golems continued to fight the monsters. One struck a lion, another some insect, the third a bull. The girl and the knights watched what was happening and heard the sounds of the fight. The girl noticed that all the monsters that passed through the walls were deprived of life. The scout shouted that a giant golem had appeared and dealt with all the monsters. People did not understand what was happening here. Geo said that they had dealt with most of them. It seemed that there were particularly strong monsters among them, but as expected, the golems had dealt with them as well. The young man is glad that everything worked out. He believes that the problem is solved. But that's not it. Milk suddenly bristled and hissed. She stared into the distance. The young man asked her what had happened. Someone's silhouette appeared in the distance. It was huge. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a huge monster appeared. The hero did not understand who it was. The knights shouted that it was Atlas, a monster higher in rank than a normal cyclops. He came from the west, teeming with monsters, about 10 or 20 meters away. He's just huge. The girl thought about how powerful monsters can defeat others and attack cities. People realized that this monster was the reason for the march. Geo was shaking. He said that things were bad. How should he deal with such a huge monster? He should strengthen the defense of the wall. However, the next moment the creature began to destroy his wall. He tore off pieces and threw them with screams. Then he walked through the wall inside. The protagonist tried to send golems to attack. However, the monster noticed them and grabbed one by the head. His hand was so huge that it was able to cover the golem's entire head. Then he picked it up and crushed its head. The young man thought that his golems were no match for this creature. Here the Cyclops turned his attention to the young man. He walked towards him. The boy noticed it. Geo realizes that he can escape using the skill of moving between gardens. But if he did that now, the city would be in ruins. Now was not the time to worry about that. His life was more important than anything else. He can do nothing to her. Suddenly he noticed a notification from the system. It offered to absorb monsters. The hero tried to refuse, saying that now is not the time for this. But then it dawned on him. He glanced at the mountain of bodies lying nearby. The Cyclops continued to approach. The young man decided to try something. If he failed, he would simply run away. The system again offered to absorb the monsters. The hero agreed. The absorption of monsters began. The huge monster did not understand what was happening. The level of the home garden has been increased. New plants are available. The system reported that the young man had mastered a new skill derived from Mega Guardian creation, namely Giga Guardian creation. The young man was very happy. His gamble paid off, although it would be useless if he couldn't defeat this huge monster. The system suggested using a Giga Guard. The hero asked her to do it. The earth began to take shape. The Cyclops was perplexed. The girl noticed another tall figure next to the monster. She didn't understand what it was this time. Could it really be a golem? He was very huge, as big as Atlas himself. The Guardian and Atlas met eyes. Geo shouted to his golem that he would succeed and ordered him to crush this Cyclops. Geo was sitting on the shoulder of Giga, a golem who was fighting a huge Cyclops named Atlas. The two were fighting on equal terms. The girl and the warriors note that this is an incredible sight. One of the warriors thought that their city of Arsal was finished. However, the golem that suddenly appeared was on their side. He appeared at a critical moment and stopped him. This means that he is on their team. With a serious face, the girl said that in any case, they themselves could do nothing to prevent such a colossal monster from invading the city. The warriors stood with weapons in their hands. They were ready to attack at any moment. Someone folded their hands and began to pray. They can only hope that the golem will defeat him. The man begs the god to stop Atlas and protect their home. Atlas and golem grabbed each other with their hands. The Cyclops was screaming at him. And Giga the Guardian was holding on with all his might and exerting maximum effort, which even left a dent in the ground. Geo, sitting on the guard's shoulder, shouts to him that he will succeed. The golem's eyes sparkle. He decides to go on the offensive. He swings his head and hits Atlas' head with all his might. He recoiled and tried to touch the place of the blow to ease the pain. However, the guard did not give him a second to rest. He began to strike him blow after blow. The monster simply did not have time to fight them off. People are watching the fight and cheering for the golem. They are shouting that he will cope. Geo said that if they continue in the same spirit, then victory will be in their hands. However, before he could finish speaking, he suddenly noticed something. Namely, Atlas's furious look. He was preparing to strike. And so it happened. The next moment he kicked the guard, it was fast and unexpected. Part of the golem was destroyed. The main character Geo and the knights were taken aback. They opened their mouths in surprise. The golem fell to the ground, and Atlas pounced on him from above. The guard looked at him menacingly. However, the monster was only amused. He smiled and began to deal powerful blows to the golem. The main character Geo was very worried about the golem and kept calling him. Atlas dealt powerful blows to the guardian. His equipment began to crumble under the weight of such heavy damage. The knights looked at what was happening with bewilderment. The next moment, the Cyclops delivered the most powerful blow and the guard lost consciousness. Feeling the taste of victory, Atlas raised his head and began to scream very loudly. One of the knights fell to his knees. He said that even the golem couldn't handle him, so it's the end for them. The girl also continued to watch the fight. She said with a serious face that the fight was not over yet. Suddenly, someone started approaching Atlas from behind, and then struck him hard in the back of the head. He flew back a decent distance and screamed. People did not understand what was happening. The Cyclops raised his eye to look at the daredevil who had struck him, and suddenly his only eye widened greatly in surprise. Before him stood a whole and unharmed Giga Guard. People are shocked by the appearance of a new golem on whose shoulder Geo was sitting. He smiled and said that he could make as many of them as he wanted. And the next moment he created 2 more Giga Golems. Atlas began to look around nervously. 4 huge golems surrounded him. Geo ordered them to capture this monster and pointed his finger at Atlas. The 2 golems rushed to carry out their master's order. And in a matter of seconds, the Cyclops was in the fight. And no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get out. The other 2 golems began to strike him in the stomach. The monster screamed, and people watched what was happening with their mouths wide open. The golems continued to strike the monster. Now in the face, now in the back, now in the stomach. With each blow, the people gained more and more hope for salvation. And Geo watched what was happening with a serious face. Outside the city, a life-and-death struggle was taking place. Atlas fell to the ground, exhausted. The golems loomed over him, he shuddered. And the next moment he fell face down on the ground. This marked the victory of Geo and his team of golems, but they were in no hurry to rejoice. Milk and Geo looked surprised. The knights remained silent. One of the golems decided to test this monster. He approached it and poked it in the cheek. There was no reaction. The knights rejoiced. It was a victory and the salvation of their city. Everyone rejoiced at the victory over the huge Cyclops Atlas. They actually did it. They defeated Atlas. It's a miracle. People are saved. One of the knights informs Her Excellency that the procession has been stopped. Even their leader Atlas is dead. The girl smiled. It turned out that the wall and the golems protected Arsel. The girl thought that it was safe to assume that they were on their side, but why on earth were they helping them? Golems could be natural or artificially created to protect ruins or treasures. But who in the world had enough mana to create such powerful golems? Suddenly, the wall began to move again and leave the city. The knights noticed this and asked what they should do. Should they pursue her? The princess closed her eyes as there was a lot of dust from the wall. And when they all opened their eyes, the wall had disappeared. And she disappeared along with the golems and the Atlas. The girl will deal with this later. First, they need to assess the damage. The knights ran to assess the damage, and the princess stood and looked at the wall. She thought that considering the direction from which the wall appeared and disappeared, it reminded her of someone. But she pushed these thoughts away from herself because this couldn't be. The system announced that the movement mode was deactivated. The hero got off the golem, and as soon as his feet touched the ground, he fell to his knees and sighed heavily. He was very tired. He still can't believe the appearance of such a monster. He was lucky with the appearance of the creation of a Giga Golem in his skills. Milk ran up to the hero and started licking him. The boy smiled and thanked him. After all, he had encouraged him. He was sure that he could handle it without any problems with the help of his garden, but now he realizes how reckless that was. Having risen to his feet, the hero staggered and suggested returning home and having a good rest. The next morning, people were discussing various things. Some were glad that the evacuation order had been lifted. Others could not believe that everything had turned out well in the city. Only the western gate had been damaged. The child asks his mother if everything will be okay now. The soldiers dealt with all the monsters. The woman confirmed this. The hero smiled and thought that all the city's residents were living their peaceful lives again. The hero entered the cafe and greeted Alicia. The girl threw herself into the guy's arms and said that she was glad that he was okay. She was very worried about him. The main character was discouraged by such actions. She asked him why he was not in the church. He apologized to her and said that he was in another shelter. Trying to quickly change the subject, the young man said that he, as usual, with ingredients. Alicia noted that it was not necessary to bring it so immediately after what happened. He said that he had a habit of collecting everything every morning, so no one like that. Today he collected a bunch of fresh eggs. The girl said that his garden never ceases to amaze. Alicia offered the guy breakfast. She said that she would treat him. There was still time before opening. The young man tried to refuse, but the girl interrupted his flow of speech and asked him not to resist. For her it was a trifle. He always helps her, so she wants to thank him. The protagonist decided to accept her offer. After some time, the girl goes to the guy with a tray in her hands. She thanked him for waiting, and then she placed their signature pancakes in front of them. The young man noted the pleasant aroma of this dish. He thanked the girl, wished himself a pleasant appetite, and began to eat. He began to cut the pancake. He noted that it was very fluffy. Taking a piece, he began to present it to his mouth. He gulped down the piece and was overcome with pleasure. It was blissful softness, just like in your mouth. The eggs were very juicy. He started eating the bacon. The softness of the pancakes combined with the crispiness of the bacon and eggs, the slight sweetness and just the right amount of salt. The combination created an incredible taste. The young man told Alicia that the dish tasted simply delicious. The girl was happy to hear it, all thanks to the ingredients from his garden. He began to deny it and say that it was all her culinary skills. He smiled and said that it was so delicious that he was ready to eat it every morning. The girl was embarrassed and thought that he was talking about marriage. But he immediately said that, of course, he was not saying this seriously. The young man began to drink the hot drink that was served to him along with the pancakes. He thought about the previous day. After such a difficult day yesterday, eating soft, sweet, and warm food is so calming. Saifa and Senna entered the tavern. They announced that they had returned. Saifa apologized for the intrusion. The sister greeted her brother. Gio asked them if they had just come from the dungeon. Annie confirmed it. They were hungry from the journey, so they decided to come here first. Alicia rushed to hug the girl. She smiled and said that they must be dying of hunger. She would cook something quickly now. Annie does not understand what happened to the girl. Saifa noticed that the city itself looked different somehow. She assumed that something had arrived while they were gone. Gio confirmed the girl's assumption and began to tell about what happened yesterday. They listened to him with wide eyes. Annie jumped up from her chair when she heard about the march of 1,000 monsters. Senna asked Gio if he was okay. He confirmed it. Annie never imagined such a thing. Thank God the city held. Saifa noted that the whole city could have been easily destroyed. Alicia said that the soldiers fought bravely. She heard that Billy, Saifa's dad, supplied them with weapons. While preparing the food, Alicia said that there were rumors that incredible things happened during this time. People say that a giant wall appeared out of nowhere and swept away a whole flock of monsters. Then some strange golems appeared and fought the leader of the procession. Gio choked on his tea. He knows it's his doing. The story is spreading like wildfire. He got carried away. People started saying that the wall and the golems were sent to them by the gods. Saifa noted that this was a strange story. Annie agreed with her. No matter how you say it, it was too outrageous. The girl turned to Gio and remarked that his garden was clearly not capable of something like that. Looking away, the young man agreed with her. While bringing food to the heroes, Alicia said that she herself was a little skeptical about it. But she was very worried that they would not be able to return to their previous way of life, or that this restaurant would be destroyed. Therefore, she is very happy to have a peaceful and pleasant time as before. If someone really saved my city, all she can do is express her sincere gratitude. Senna tried the food that Alicia brought her and said that she could continue to eat this wonderful food thanks to someone's help. Annie couldn't help but agree. She was glad that this scent was preserved. Saifa agreed. And then the girls asked the hero's opinion. He thought that it was all thanks to the garden. At that moment, he wondered whether he should run or not. He ate another piece of pancake, smiled, and agreed with the girls. Watching the seething life in the village, when people smile, help each other, do their own thing, the hero realized that his decision was right. The heroes thanked Alicia for the food. She said that now they would go to the guild. Gio tried to technically leave, but someone grabbed him. It was Annie. She said that they needed to discuss something before that. They came to the boys' garden and he showed them Atlas. The girls were surprised by the size of this monster. Saifa suggested that Atlas was the leader of the procession. Annie shouted that she had thought the hero was involved. Gio began to justify himself, saying that it was not easy for the soldiers. He began to tell that first he headed towards the city along with the garden. Then he broke the enemy army with a wall. And then he created a huge golem and defeated the main boss. The main character scratched his head and said that he just helped a little with his garden. He tried to hide himself. The girls are shocked that all these rumors are true. Senna asked her brother about whether he was hiding in the shelter. Saifa said that no matter how strong his gift was, the situation was dangerous. Senna concluded that the city was saved thanks to Gio. And then she asked about what to do with the huge monster that was lying in the middle of the garden. Gio said that he could get rid of it by absorbing it. However, this would lose valuable materials from it. Saifa said they could fetch a lot of money. Annie wants to sell them. Senna said that's not an option. If they sell the Atlas materials to someone, it will look like they've defeated it. Gio began to think about the situation. He suggested discussing it with Luruka. All he needed was a magic stone. If he used the stone from it to improve the garden, he would get a decent level increase. Annie folded her hands, exhaled, and said that life was becoming more and more unpredictable. Will the hero really grow a fruit that makes him immortal, or will the next improvement give him the ability to fly? The hero noted that this was all nonsense, and he thought about how he couldn't wait to find out what the garden would be capable of in the future. Luruka's mouth dropped open in surprise. She was very shocked to see the huge Atlas monster lying in Gio's garden. She asked him what happened here. He answered that there had been a procession here yesterday. The girl asked him about it again. The guy was surprised that she didn't know about it. She answered that she was in another city. The hero began to tell that first he headed towards the city along with the garden. Then he broke the enemy army with a wall. Then he created a huge golem and defeated the main boss. The girl said that this was, as usual, complete nonsense. So he wondered about Atlas. His bones, skin, and teeth were large and in great demand. The girl said animatedly that she could buy it from him. Gio was very surprised and asked if her words were true. She confirmed everything and said that she would also take care of the process of extracting materials from him. The guy was surprised by her. But of course there is one but, he must not watch this process under any circumstances. The sight is not pleasant. The hero easily agreed to this condition. Luruka said that she would be done in an hour. Gio decided in that case to return home for that time. He thanked the girl and disappeared at the right moment. The girl exhaled, she couldn't believe it all. Atlas was a level A+ monster and the main character had dealt with him. Who could have imagined that this gift would be so powerful? If it had fallen to someone with malicious intent, the whole city would have fallen at his hands, or maybe all of humanity would have gotten it. And this is called a garden? It doesn't sound so peaceful anymore. Luckily, it was Gio who got him. In her mind, he is a carefree guy. They need to be careful that no one finds out about him. She put her big backpack on the ground and started looking for something. She took out some kind of bag. She decided to start processing. After some time, milk meows. Gio was working in the garden at that time, and after a sign from his friend, he realized that an hour had already passed. But is it really possible to deal with such a huge monster so quickly? What if she is still working on it? The guy returned to the garden and asked Luruk if she had finished or not. He slightly opened his eyes. Luckily, there was nothing left of Atlas. The girl said that she had put everything in a magic bag. The guy was pleasantly surprised. He thinks that even though there are no blood stains left, how did she do it? Luruka gave the guy the money for the materials, minus the processing fee. It was a bag full of gold coins. The guy was surprised by the amount. She said that the materials were rare. Then she took out the magic stone. It was huge. The hero asked if she was sure it was okay to keep the stone without selling it to him. The girl confirmed it. The boy thanked the girl. She told him that if he needed help with anything, he should just let her know. Gio decided to use it to improve the garden right away. The magic stone has been absorbed. The level has been increased from level 37 to 43. It has risen 6 levels at once. A new skill has been learned, remote cultivation. A new skill has been learned, storage. New plants are available. Remote cultivation. He can plant crops even if he is not in the garden. Storage. This skill is useful for carrying large quantities of something. Perhaps everything collected will stay fresh longer there. It is worth experimenting with. The new skills would be very useful. They seemed pretty normal compared to the old ones. And then he thought about what was normal anyway. The hero decided to look at the plants. A huge list of plants opened up before him. There are so many of them now, it's hard to figure them all out. There are so many names here that he's never seen before. This time there are some improvements among them. Suddenly he noticed something, namely monster egg medium. The protagonist remembered that he got Milka from a small egg. So if you grow a medium egg, it will be bigger than Milka. The young man thinks that it is doubtful to grow such a thing, but curiosity gets the better of him. The garden was in a peaceful atmosphere. The hero stood and looked at the system window where it was written Monster Egg Medium. He thought about making the right decision. The system offered the hero to grow the average monster egg. The hero agreed. A huge face appeared in the garden. The hero noted the size of this egg. Suddenly Milka approached him. He started walking around the egg. The protagonist noted that the animal looked happy. Did he really think of this creature as a little brother or sister? Milk rubbed his head against the egg. The young man asked him to keep the egg warm. He agreed. The young man smiled and said that he would leave it to him. The protagonist was curious about what kind of monster would appear this time. He wanted to find out about it as soon as possible. While Milk was lying next to the egg, the young man decided to study two more new plants that interested him, namely the ghost flower and the cursed grass. The girl greeted Geo. She hoped that the hullabaloo with the evacuation a few days ago had not caused him any trouble. He agreed and said that he was glad that no one had been hurt in the end. The girl remembered what people were now saying about the mysterious wall and the golems that had dealt with almost all the monsters. The hero felt awkward and immediately tried to change the subject and asked the girl to evaluate what he had brought. He took out two plants. The girl asked him what they were. He replied that they were new plants he had grown. He wondered if they could be used as ingredients. The girl began to examine them. She seemed to have seen it in an identification guide. Large, beautiful leaves, shiny skin seemed to emit light. Just looking at it, you would think it was blessed. The pattern on these leaves looks very scary. The girl asked what these plants were called. The main character answered that the scary one was the cursed grass, and the beautiful one was the ghost flower. The girl was very surprised to hear the words about the ghost flower. Suddenly, someone dropped something. It was a woman. She was standing in the doorway. She dropped a box of test tubes on the floor. She looked at the guy and asked if he had brought something unthinkable again. Marlene moved towards the flowers on the table. The young man did not understand whether he had made a mistake. The girl asked how much he wanted for it. Geo replied that he was just curious about what it was for, so he would just give it to her. Everything became clear to the girl. Denise was surprised that the hero would give away such plants so easily. Marlene took the flowers and said that she would be at her place, and Denise would remain in charge. Denise agreed with Marlene, who appointed her as the main one. Looking at the receding figure, the hero said that Nikolai did not think that he would see her so serious. The girl noted that it was not surprising. She took out some huge book and began to leaf through it actively. She was looking for information about the ghostly flower. Having found what she was looking for, she read out that the ghost flower is a very rare plant used to create an elixir. The young man asked what kind of elixir the girl was talking about. He heard about it for the first time. Denise replied that it was an elixir, a mysterious potion for all diseases. It can heal mortal wounds that no other potion can, namely abnormal mental states and even hereditary diseases. The young man asked if it was good. She confirmed it was, but the problem was that the plant was impossible to find anywhere for sale. It is also said that if you drink enough of it, you can become immortal. The main character was discouraged by the words about immortality. He remembered Annie's words that he would grow a fruit that would make him immortal. Denise said that she didn't think it was true. Ghost flowers can only be collected in places with a high degree of holiness, and only one is found every couple of years. The hero realized that this also makes the elixirs very valuable. She wonders how he managed to find such a mythical herb. He replied that it was a secret. However, the cursed herb is not mentioned in the book. The young man suggested that Marlene was trying to create an elixir. Denise confirmed this. However, she thinks that it will be difficult to make. But she is confident that Marlene is experienced enough to handle the preparation of this elixir. The woman placed a stack of books on the table. She said that she never thought the day would come when her hands would reach for him, for the ghostly flower. She swears on her honor as an apothecary that she will create the perfect potion. At this time, Geo was growing various crops in his garden. He reported that he had moved the cultivation of rare plants to the second garden, and this was the best decision. Here he doesn't have to worry about people seeing anything, and he can take care of the monster egg without any restrictions. Milk continued to lie next to the egg and keep it warm. I've added a few rare plants, so he'll start growing them here. Magari grass medium, Shiyu medium, Fiyu grass medium, cooling grass medium. The young man understands that he should refrain from growing ghost flowers and cursed grass. He remembered Denise's words about finding only one every couple of years, and the hero has already managed to bring them a whole bunch. Several days have passed since then. He wonders how Marlene's work on the elixir is going. Geo returned home where Senna met him. She told him that she was going away in search of adventure. The young man asked her if she had taken everything, all the potions. She asked him not to worry. She had gone to Marlene's yesterday for potions. The hero asked if she had seen her. She said no. Denise had told her that she was busy with some important potion. Senna was about to leave and open the door when someone appeared on the threshold. It was Denise. She blushed and apologized to Geo and Senna for visiting in broad daylight. Senna noticed that the girl was wearing unusual clothes today. She asked where her maid outfit was. She replied that she was too embarrassed to walk around town in it. Her brother and sister told her that they didn't see any problems with it, that the uniform suited her very well. Gio said that even these clothes looked very cute on her. Senna said goodbye to them and went in search of adventures. The protagonist invited Denny's and offered her a cup of tea. He sat down on the sofa and asked about Marlene. Was she still working? The girl confirmed it. From that moment on, she works every day until late at night. It is the first time she sees Marlene so focused on something. Gio is surprised that she went to such lengths to create the elixir. If prepared correctly, it can help much more than regular potions. The guy said that Marlene was strange, but still a wonderful pharmacist. Denny's agreed. The pharmacist was definitely a weirdo. The girl is worried that her health will deteriorate if she continues like this. She wants to help her with the cooking, but she has little knowledge. So she came to discuss how he could help her. Gio thinks that he is partly to blame for her being in this state because he brought the ghost flower. The young man understands such things even less than Denny's. What can he do at all? Suddenly it dawned on him. He got out some fruits he had grown in his garden. He decided to use them to make a late-night snack for her. Denny's asked him where he got so much food from. He answered that he grew it all in his garden. The boy noted that the fruits smelled nice. They all looked so fresh. Gio noticed that good food always refreshes people. He is sure that Marlene will be delighted if he cooks her something for the night. Denny's asked about what is in the bag on the table. The hero answered that it is flour. He grew wheat and then it turned into flour. Having touched this white dust, Denny's said that it would probably be possible to cook something interesting from it. He asked Gio to borrow his kitchen. He agreed and even decided to help him with the cooking. The guys started talking. The main character, while peeling an apple, said that Denny's was very kind. And this despite Marlene's attitude towards him. The boy did not deny it, but nevertheless, he was obliged to Marlene. The young man asked what exactly he owed her. He tells that when he was little, his parents abandoned him, so he spent his childhood in an orphanage. He had to learn everything there, but the orphanage was in a difficult state. He wanted to help and started looking for a job, but without success. At that moment, Marlene, who was looking for an assistant, called out to him and said that he would look great in a maid's outfit. It was all something like this. He really hated this maid outfit, but she paid well, so he had to endure it. Gio noted that it was not easy for him. Marlene is also very serious about making potions. Many people have gotten better because of her. For this, he deeply respects her. Gio smiled and said that if he said that to Marlene, it would be like going to heaven for her. And that's why he would never say that to her. It's already night. Marlene continues to work on the potion in his laboratory. She twirls the flask with the elixir in her hand. Then she uses her skilled doctor's evaluation, but unfortunately it was a failure again. Marlene throws another flask of failed elixir. She leans against the table and thinks about how all the proportions are correct. Maybe she should adjust the temperature this time. She's so close. She looks very tired. Denny's entered the lab in his maid uniform. He asked Marlene if she was really going to work late again. The girl confirmed it. Denny's asked her not to overdo it, and added that he brought her snacks for the night. He asked her to eat later. He left him at the door and left. Marlene remained standing in the same place in the same pose. Suddenly she felt some pleasant aroma. She realized that something smelled nice. And then she noticed the apple pie that Gio and Denny's had baked. She was inspired when she saw it. She was surprised that Denny's baked it for her. A piece of art from Denny's just for her. That is not allowed. She wants to keep it as a family heirloom. However, at that very moment her stomach growled traitorously. The girl remembered that because of her concentration on work, she completely forgot to eat. She decided to eat a piece of this pie. She took it in her hand and took a small bite. And the freshness and sweetness of this pie surprised her very much. She did not expect that it would be so delicious. The fruit itself is moderately sweet, and the crust is so aromatic. She continued to eat the pie. After eating one piece, she realized that it was very tasty and decided to eat another one. And then another one. The apple pie not only satisfied her hunger, but also took away her fatigue, and its tartness gave her energy. It was the first time she tried such a delicious apple pie. She ate it all, then she clenched her fist, thanked Denny's, and said that she was filled with energy. She needs to keep working until she finally succeeds. Denny's, dressed as a maid, walks back and forth, unable to find a place for himself. Someone enters the drugstore and greets him. It was Gio. He asked the boy how Marlene was. He was worried about her. Denny's said that she could finish the potion very soon. The hero asked about the truth of these words, and he answered that it seemed that she liked the pie and her work was progressing successfully. Suddenly, the laboratory door swung open. An exhausted Marlene came out from there. She was breathing heavily. Gio and Denny's, seeing her condition, began to fuss and ask questions. The girl looked up and said that she had made this elixir from their ghost flower. The boys were very happy and began to praise her. She thanked them and said that she could not have done it without them. Geo and Denny's were happy that she had finally managed to make an elixir for all illnesses. But Marlene interrupted them and demonstrated a real love potion. The guys were shocked. Geo asked Marlene about the love potion she had prepared instead of the cure-all elixir. The girl hugged the jar of elixir and said that she had wanted one for a long time. Hadiu beans, musk extract, crushed jiachi grass, and a drop of cursed grass extract. The boys were surprised that she used the cursed herb. She explained that it was a legendary plant that was almost impossible to find. She couldn't believe her eyes when the main character brought it. Denny's was surprised that she worked so hard on this potion. Geo asked about the elixir. Marlene took out another bottle and said that she had prepared it during the break. Geo and Denny's were very surprised that she had prepared this powerful potion during the break. Could this really be the same miracle potion they had been talking about? The girl confirmed it. It is. Therefore, she will not be able to put it on the store shelf. The protagonist offered to sell it to her. She answered that at the capital's auctions, elixirs go for 50 million gold. They have even been the cause of war. Such a powerful potion is limited not only to saving people. Despite this, when she saw the necessary ingredients, she wanted to cook it. And now it belongs to Geo. He was very surprised. While Geo was examining the miraculous elixir for all illnesses, Denny's was shouting at Marlene that she should have told him about it earlier. However, the girl did not listen to him. She only thanked him for that pie. He helped her a lot in creating the love potion. She had a hard time finding the perfect balance, but the end result was very effective. The boy asked her fearfully what she intended to do with the potion. She replied that she would give Denny's this potion to drink so that they could have a lot of fun. The boy started running away and screaming that he would never drink this potion, and Marlene tried to catch up with him. At that time, Geo had already left the pharmacy with the magic elixir. He thought that one nonsense was not enough for him, so the second one fell. He never suspected that elixirs were so valuable. Looking at him, he exhaled. He walked down the street and thought that he would most likely never need to use this elixir. At this time in the dungeon in the area of ruins, the girls were running away from someone. Annie shouted that it was dangerous to be out in the open and told the girls to run for cover. The archers drew their bowstrings and began firing. One of the arrows wounds Annie. Safi worries about her friend. She tells her that everything is fine. It's just a scratch, a regular potion will take care of it. Seni shouted that there were people ahead. 3 men came out from behind the wall. One of them said that they had been noticed. The girls were surrounded by a crowd of men. Most likely they were robbers. Seni asked what it meant that there were talking monsters in the dungeons. Annie answered that they were people. They didn't look like adventurers though. Safi said that she doesn't know who they are, but it's obvious that they came for them. Milk was running and meowing. Geo asked him what happened. The guy is interested in what the animal is worried about. Milk led the protagonist towards the egg. A crack appeared on the egg. The hero assumed that the monster was hatching. The creature inside was squeaking. The guy said that he could hear it. Milk continued to meow worriedly. The young man thought that Milk was behaving the same way he had when he hatched. The young man tried to calm his friend down. He said that everything would be fine, and then he offered to cheer him up while he was breaking the shell. Suddenly, the creature made a hole in the egg, and a beak appeared from there. The protagonist assumed that it was a bird-like monster. Then the egg finally cracked, and inside lay a ball of wool. The hero was slightly discouraged. Milk touched the creature lightly, it twitched. And then it finally revealed itself. It looked like a chicken. The protagonist was delighted. He called the creature very cute. It's just like a fluffy yellow chicken, a huge chicken. The creature came up to the guy and climbed onto his lap. The boy thought about the fact that from the moment of hatching, Milk has grown a lot. Maybe he has, but it's better not to think about it yet. The boy was pleased that he had hatched without any complications, all thanks to Milk's devoted care. All that was left was to give him a name. Milk meowed approvingly. The first name suggested was Chico. Milk did not agree. The second was Peepers. The animal continued to deny. The animal did not like any of them. The hero began to consider other options. Pippi came to his mind. Milk was pleased with this name. The hero asked Pippi his opinion. Wrote it down positively. Senna, returning from the dungeon, asked about this yellow ball of wool. She was talking about Pippi. Geo greeted his sister and explained that it was not a ball of fur but a chick, and it really did have a face. The girl assumed that it hatched from an egg. The hero confirmed and said that it was their new family member. He hoped that they would all be friends. The young lady pulled Pippi close to her and began to hug him. She said that he was so cute, and Pippi squealed cutely. Milk never let her cuddle with him, so this is especially nice. Especially after they encountered some trouble in the dungeon when they were suddenly attacked by some people. It seemed like they were deliberately chasing them. There were about 10 of them. Parquet asked about the other girls. The girl said with a smile that they had won. It turns out that there were many of them, but they were weaklings. But who were they and why were they being pursued? Senna didn't know the answer to that question. When they tried to catch them, some monsters got in their way and they managed to escape from them. It was a gang of some rude people. The hero thought about the fact that these are very similar to the situation connected with Kazuya. If they are somehow connected with him, it is bad. They must have some purpose. The man was shouting at his comrades. He couldn't understand how a bunch of hardened bandits couldn't deal with some girls. The men apologized to the wolf. They were unable to defeat them for some reason. Their target was a B-rank adventurer, so they already knew it would be difficult to capture her by force. Volka asked them if they really thought his plan was wrong. The bandit began to deny and justify himself. The man in the tight coat began to laugh loudly. Covering his eyes with his hands, he said that it was funny. The bandits realized that the man was simply furious. This handsome man's name is Wolf. He said that in that case, it was time for them to come up with a new plan, and this time, it would be perfect. The bandits got down on one knee and agreed. After becoming the leader of the Bard, he received orders from the boss to capture a girl named Safi, probably because of her attractive appearance, but the boss seems to be simply obsessed with her. His predecessor, Kazai, was removed from his position as the gang leader. It was as if he disappeared. If Volka is not careful, he will repeat his fate. Suddenly he smiled at this thought and thought that this would not happen. He made it to the top of the criminal world using his wits. He's one smarter than this guy. It's unlikely he'll ever fail. One of the knights turns to the wolf and says that they will make up for their failure in the dungeon. They ask for another chance. This will not happen again. The man laughed and said that last time he simply didn't calculate how weak they all were. They should learn from their mistakes. He would share with them the optimal plan. This time they will put a bracelet of submission on the target. Put it on, it will not be able to ignore the orders of the person on whom you put its analog. The control bracelet. This powerful magical item that can only be used once was purchased on the black market. Not to mention that the design was custom made. The men looked at him with confusion. They asked again about the words custom made. He explained that since it also serves as a decoration, it should be even more perfect due to the beautiful design. It is quite possible that the target himself will want to put it on. The bandits think that this is already some kind of absurdity. The men said that everything was clear. They would immediately begin to implement the plan. Volka sat down on a chair and said that his plan was brilliant, truly flawless. Tonight, she will be completely under their control. The bandits began to surround Safi's house. They said that the target lives with her father. They must find her room. At night, bandits under the command of the wolf entered the house of Safi and her father. The girl opened her eyes, hearing some noise. She sat up and assumed that it was her father. The bandits suddenly shuddered and became alert when the door to some room swung open. The men think that someone heard them after all. They had to complete the task while everyone was asleep. Saifa came out of the room in her nightgown. She looked at the bandits standing nearby. They were so enchanted by her beauty that they blushed and lost the power of speech. Suddenly the girl opened her mouth and told them to stop, and at that moment she used some skill. The bandits were stunned by this spell and could not move. The young lady headed towards them, and the next moment she swings her sword and strikes the bandits in the faces. They fall to the floor. The other men hissed. They had decided to attack her now since she was disarmed. They must not lose heart, they must seize her. With a straight face, Safi ordered them to bow down. The men could not move again. They stood rooted to the spot. The girl, in the next moment, found herself next to one of the bandits and struck him in the stomach. Another man tried to avenge his friend, but the girl did not lose her composure and without turning around, struck him in the face. Then pushing off the floor, she did a somersault, thereby striking two opponents. One of them was shouting that the girl was defeating them one by one. They couldn't use their numerical advantage in this narrow corridor. While this man was talking, Safi continued to strike. And the next moment, all the bandits were defeated. The men, sitting on the floor and breathing heavily, realized that this girl was too strong. Suddenly, Safi remembered that she had seen these people in the dungeon before. She decided to ask them what they were like and what they wanted from her. However, there was no answer. The men decided to retreat, and they started running as fast as they could. Safi's father, Billy, comes out of one of the rooms. He asks about the noise in the middle of the night. The girl calls her father. The man opens his eyes and sees the bandits standing in front of him. The men said that this was their chance. They decided to take her father hostage. They rushed to attack Billy. He did not understand what was happening and who these people were. Billy noticed one of the bandits running straight at him. He tensed his muscular arm and thrust it out to the side. The bandit didn't expect such a turn of events and crashed hard into that arm. The impact was so strong that he was thrown a considerable distance away. The other bandits stood in shock, their mouths open in surprise. Billy began to massage his shoulder. The bandits wondered what was going on. Safi exhaled and explained that her father was a blacksmith in the army. And the man himself said that when they were short of people, he sometimes had to go to the front lines. Then, clenching his fists and glaring ahead, Billy said he had no idea who they were, but he would see to it that they were all handed over to the city guard. The bandits tensed up and began to run. However, their escape attempt failed, and after some time the city police caught them. One of the men hissed. The officer assumed that they were part of the criminal gang of Arsel. Billy apologized for some of them having to hide and their location being unknown. The guard asked him not to say that. They were overly grateful to him. They had been trying to figure them out for years. Safi exhaled. They haven't said why they tried to break into their home yet, but they will continue to investigate. Father asked Saifa how she was. She looked tired. He told her to go back to bed. After all, she had just returned from the dungeon. Returning to the room, the girl noticed something sparkling on the floor. She walked up and picked it up. This was the bracelet that Valka gave to the bandits. The girl said that it was a very beautiful bracelet. At this point, Valka jumped up from his seat. He couldn't believe that his plan had been a complete failure. The bandits said that some of them managed to escape. Valka was discouraged. He did not believe what was happening. He decided to do everything himself and ordered the bracelet to be returned to him. The bandit, trembling, said that it seemed he had dropped it in that house. The wolf started laughing and thought it was funny. Then he went up to the bandit, grabbed him by the collar and said that he didn't find it funny at all. It was as if they were making fun of him. The man started apologizing to his boss. Wolf continued to curse and shout about how expensive these bracelets were and how his perfect plan was ruined. Suddenly, the bracelet on his hand started to glow. Valka noticed this. He didn't understand what was happening. The control bracelet reacted for some reason. At this time, Saifa sank to her knees and leaned against the wall. She did not understand what was happening. Her body felt very strange. Wolf, looking at the bracelet, could not believe what was happening. The target actually put on the bracelet of submission. Saifa took one last look at the bracelet and lost consciousness. Senna yawns and says that she is going on another adventure. Her brother Gio asks if everything will be okay. They were recently attacked in the dungeon. She says that they will cope with it. The young man then says that he understands that she is still considered a new member of the group, but he asks her to look after Saifa so that she is not in danger. The sister agrees and leaves. Pippi discount on Milk's back and squeaked. The protagonist thinks that Saifa has become someone's target, but most likely he is just winding himself up. He hopes that nothing will happen to her. Suddenly the door opens and Senna bursts into the house. She asks her brother if he is a psychic. She looks worried and says that she has bad news. Something bad happened to Saifa. The guy jumped up. They ran to Seth's house, where a crowd of people had already gathered. Saifa is sitting under a blanket, breathing heavily. Her face is red. Gio runs up to her and asks what happened. He looks worried. Annie and the staff of Saifa's father's workshop are standing around her. He asks about her condition. He assumes that she is injured or big. Annie asks him to calm down. He is wrong in both cases. The hero notes that she looks terrible. Sifa raised her hand and said that it was because of this bracelet. The young man tensed up. The bracelet was emitting a strange energy. The girl says that as soon as she put it on, her body began to experience strange sensations. It clung to her skin and she couldn't take it off. The guy asked how it happened. Billy decided to explain everything from the beginning. He tells that in the middle of the night they were attacked by bandits. Gio, Senna, and Annie are shocked. Saifa suggested that they probably attacked them in the dungeon. Annie said that they must have been hunting Saifa all this time. Senna said that she just felt something was wrong. Senna is outraged that the bandits waited until they were asleep to attack them. She calls them cowards. Saifa says that they chased them away. The men discuss what is happening. They say that it is not for nothing that she is a B-rank adventurer. Billy scratches his beard and says that they captured some and handed them over to the authorities. He thought that was all, but then Saifa put on the bracelet they threw away. The hero did not understand why she did it. She replied that he was so handsome that she couldn't resist. The people around her thought that it was a stupid decision. Annie started scolding her and asking her to be at least a little more careful. Saifa apologized. Her father said that he had enough of bandits and now this. The protagonist asks if the bracelet is cursed. Billy denies it and tells that in the morning he asked the appraiser to look at the bracelet. He said that it was a magical item. Senna didn't understand what a magic item was. Annie explained that it was an item filled with mana that could be used to activate a spell. Father added something that looked like it had some pretty powerful mana in it. However, they still didn't know what its purpose was. Annie said that if this bracelet belonged to that gang, it was definitely not for anything good. The other adventurers and the employees of her father's workshop agreed with her. Something strange was happening to Saifa. At this rate, she would be in danger. Saifa apologized for making them all worry. She blushed even more. Her body was getting worse and worse. Everyone looked at her and worried. The hero mentally said her name. The main character Gio thinks that it seems she is in a lot of pain. He doesn't know how to take off the bracelet, but he has to help her somehow. He asks Billy if a little healing potion could help her, and he says it won't dispel the magic, but it's better to try than to do nothing. Annie said she had some for the adventurers. Senna asked if that would be enough. The young man decided to run home and bring his supplies. One of the bandits runs into their lair and shouts that the target has finally put on the bracelet. At this time, Volka was sitting on a chair, and the other bandits were happy about this news. The boss checked the veracity of his words. He replied that everything was true because she even double-checked. It seemed that she found it and put it on herself. Could it be all because of the design? One of the bandits concluded that everything was going according to Volka's plan. Volka laughed, stood up from his seat, and said that this was all typical for him. He added that once you try to put on the bracelet, you can't take it off. And if you put on another similar bracelet, you get full control over the target. The bandits thought that it was very lucky that her father hadn't accidentally discovered this bracelet first. The man looks at the bracelet and thinks that everything went smoothly. The money spent was worth such an expensive bracelet. All that remains is to get closer to the target, and she will be completely subordinate to him. It will be easy to introduce her to the boss, and he will also be generously rewarded for this. He put on his hood and headed for the door. He said that geniuses are always doomed to success. It's time to take their little girl who fell into his trap. At this time, Gio was running with a box full of different potions. He was out of breath and said that he had brought all the healing potions he had. Billy and Gio thanked him. He asked if these potions were helping. Annie said that she had already drunk all their potions. It was expected that they only restored her powers. Even though they were from Marlene, if it had been a common cold, she would have recovered instantly. The hero put the box on the ground. He took out a bottle of the miraculous elixir and handed it to Sif. He suggested that she try it. It was a rainbow potion. Annie noticed that it didn't look like a healing potion. She asked what it was. The protagonist answered something that he can't say, but it may be more effective than regular potions. It sounds too suspicious. The guy thinks that maybe she won't want to drink it if she knows how valuable it is, but that's understandable. No one would want to drink an unknown potion that easily. Saifa looked at the potion and said that if Gio said so, then she would drink it. Everyone was surprised by her words. Billy asked if she was sure. He hoped it wasn't a love potion. Gio hopes that Saifa will feel at least a little better. The girl began to drink the potion, and suddenly she lit up. No one understood what was happening. After Saifa drank the potion, everything started to shine. The light from her body illuminated everything around her. It was so bright that some even closed their eyes. Everyone stood and looked at her with their mouths open. Saifa said that her body felt much better. People started saying that she seemed to be healed. The girl said that she heard something break. She looked at the bracelet, saw a crack in it, and then easily took it off. Everyone was in shock from what was happening. Billy said it was wonderful. Others didn't understand how it happened. The bracelet looks like it's completely intact. The father asked the board how she felt now. She answered that it was just perfect. Senna sighed with relief. The hero stood there and thought about what he had heard, that this elixir had miraculous properties, but it all exceeded his expectations. Annie interrupted his train of thought and asked him what he had given her to drink. He hesitated at first and then said that it was an elixir. Everyone was very surprised. The men didn't believe that this was a real elixir. Could it really be the same one? Could it really have such an effect? Annie grabbed the guy by the shoulders and didn't understand how he could use something like that. He said that Saifa was cursed. Senny asked if this elixir was really that special. Annie replied that it was a legendary potion. They say that elixirs can cure any disease, heal any wound, and reverse any abnormal conditions. Billy summed up that this elixir also neutralized the unknown effect of the bracelet. The men did not understand what to do at all. The elixir is a real miracle. Gio thinks that considering their shock, it's a good thing he didn't tell them right away. Saifa approached the guy and asked if it was right to give him a drink. Apparently, he could still be useful to someone else. The main character smiled and agreed. He said that he didn't even think that he would take off the bracelet. The girl suggested that it was probably very expensive. The guy denies it and says that it is not that expensive. Just a whole lot of shit. But since it was made with ingredients from the garden, it was free. But he couldn't explain that. Lies were the best thing right now. One of the men raised his hand and said that he had seen this elixir at an auction a long time ago. It had been sold for about 5,000 gold coins. Go did not understand why the man had said this. Someone here knew the true value of the elixir. People think that this is madness. He gave Saifa so expensive after all. Billy asked about whether he really wanted to save Sypha so much, and Sypha herself said that she would repay him even if it took her whole life. The hero thought that everything had become even worse. Senna became curious about where his brother got such a potion. The others were also interested in this question. The young man realized that the situation was getting out of control. He replied that it was a commercial secret. Annie exhaled and suggested that they leave it at that. Sypha got better, which means the incident is closed, and they can discuss the rest later. Sypha smiled, the men looked at each other and agreed with the girl. The most important thing is that she is fine now. The girl thanked them for their concern. Then the men got to work. The protagonist finally breathed a sigh of relief. He was glad that everything was finally over. Annie suggested talking in Sypha's room. The young man was a little embarrassed. Annie sits on a chair with her legs crossed and summarizes that this elixir was made from ingredients from Gio's garden. The protagonist, kneeling on the floor, confirms this. The girl then adds that Marlene has already prepared an elixir from them. That's exactly what she thought. She is no longer surprised by anything. She began to scold Gio for the chaos he had caused, using him in front of a huge crowd of people who didn't know the details. She told him to be careful. Senna was amused by the situation. The protagonist apologized for causing such a stir. He simply panicked and didn't think. Annie exhaled and said that at least everything was resolved. Then she turned to Safi and said that the elixir was made for free, so she didn't have to pay anything. The girl wanted to object, but Gio interrupted her and agreed with Annie. He said that he could do as much as he wanted. The most important thing for him was that she was okay. Annie was confused by the phrase that he could do as much as he wanted. Safi looked at the guy and said that she understood everything, but only thanks to him she was able to take off this bracelet. She will not be able to thank him fully. Taking the guy by the hand and looking into his eyes, the girl said that therefore she will do everything he wants. The hero blushed. He was very excited and embarrassed by the words that she would do everything he wanted. However, their moment of confusion was interrupted by Annie. She stopped them. She told Sypha not to say something so dangerous, and if he asks for something bad, the hero shouted that he would not ask her for something like that. Annie suggested that he would ask her to go on a date or even become his wife. The hero said that he would not ask, and Senny suggested that Safi become his older sister. Gio told Sypha that she didn't have to do that. Her gratitude was more than enough for him. She smiled and said that one day she would definitely repay him. Sif's house, Annie said that in any case it seemed like some weirdo was hunting her, so she had to be careful. Senny suggested taking the day off. This situation reminded Annie of something. Volka stood in a dark alley and watched their target. He realized that she was truly a beauty. The hero said goodbye and Volka decided to proceed with his plan. He thinks that he can do whatever he wants with her. In a matter of seconds, he was next to Sif. He asked her if she was Sif. She asked who he was. The man replied that he was a man who would be her master from now on. Then he put his hand on the girl and told her to come with him. However, there was no reaction. Sypha only asked for the reason why she should go with him. Volka was confused. He tried again to order Sif to follow him, but she categorically refused. The man was confused. How could she refuse? He told her to turn around 3 times and bark like a dog, but the girl stood still. The man did not understand what was happening. The bracelet of service should make her do everything he said. He noticed her hands, and to his regret, she was not wearing a bracelet. The man thought that this was impossible. Had the servants lied to him, where was the bracelet? Billy turned to Sypha. He asked the girl if they would mind if he melted the bracelet. Volka recognized his bracelet. He recognized the service bracelet. It turns out that she did not wear it. Billy noticed a suspicious man and asked what was wrong with him. If he took the bracelet, he would have another chance to try to put it on her. He said that he was just a passerby. Such a beautiful bracelet should not be melted down. Why not sell it to him instead? Billy looked at his daughter and then said that he couldn't do that. It was a dangerous magical item. When his daughter put it on, she couldn't take it off herself. As he can see, they managed to take it off somehow. Volka is discouraged. He didn't understand how it was possible. She put it on, but she was able to take it off. It was simply impossible. How did she do it? Sypha assumed that he knew something about him. Moreover, she noted that his bracelet was very similar to hers. Volka realized that she was beginning to suspect him. Volka took one last look at the bracelet of service and realized that he had to step back for now. He apologized and said that it was time for him to go. Billy and Sypha watched the stranger go. The robbers looked towards the door. They heard some noise. Volka appeared in the doorway. They asked him how things were going. He said that everything was going down the drain. The servants did not know what to say because the bracelet was on. The man took off his hood and said that the plan itself was perfect, but before finishing his thought, he began to laugh. Just think that I will remove the magic item. It sounds like complete absurdity. But it is not the end. He will come up with a new plan. The bandits support the chief. The man looked at his hand and said that the bracelet was deactivated and the effect was gone, so it became just a useless trinket. Suddenly, Valka fell on all fours and lowered his head. This bracelet was damn expensive. Saifa stood by the window, looked at the bottle of the miraculous elixir and smiled. Senna lay there and told her brother that if he created a whole bunch of elixirs, then they would never have to work again. The hero was surprised by his younger sister's thoughts. The girl reminded him of his words about how he could do as much as he wanted. He explained that he said this so that Saifa wouldn't feel bad. He couldn't do them in such quantities. Seni was already thinking about being lazy all her life. The young man thought that in truth it was possible, but he couldn't ask Marlene to do that. He put down the bowl of vegetables and told his sister to get her act together, otherwise she would be kicked out of the group. He reminded her of Annie's words. Their previous group member who left for the capital is already on his way home. The girl is riding in a carriage and says that she is finally going back to Arsel. Luruka greeted the guy and said that she came for the harvest. The protagonist greeted her back and said that he had something new today. He took out some black ore. Luruka examined it and with a shocked expression said that it was mantit. The young man confirmed this and asked her what it was. The girl began to explain that it was a rare metal considered the hardest in the world. The hero asked again about the hardness. Luruka added that it would not crack even if Atlas stepped on it. Even dragons could not gnaw through it. Gio asked if it could be made into a durable weapon. Senna wants to buy a new sword because the blade of the old one has lost its sharpness. The girl said that it would not just be strong, but rather legendary. This metal is so hard that it is difficult to work with. There are only a few blacksmiths in the world who can handle it. The hero did not expect such problems to arise. In that case, the best thing would be to make a sword out of mithril. Luruka agreed with him and said that mithril would be perfect. And if it was of high purity, the weapon could even be enhanced with magical effects. The boy did not understand what magical effects were. She explained that it meant that it would have different magical properties. For example, cast spells by simply waving the weapon, or heal your wounds by defeating an enemy. Come to think of it, he recently got a high-quality mithril, but it looks weird. He put it in the storage, so he turned to the system to get it out. A strangely shaped mithril fell out of the storage room. Luruk's eyes widened in surprise. She asked him if it was really mithril. The hero thought about whether it was really strange and bad. The previous mithril was always slightly glowing and beautiful. The girl said that it was just the opposite. She explains that when mithril is of low quality, the mana contained within it leaks out and begins to glow. The hero summarizes that mithril that does not glow at all is 100% pure mithril. Such a thing simply does not exist in nature. The hero walks down the street and thinks that Luruka is a real treasure trove of knowledge. He decides to ask Billy to make a sword out of this pure mithril. Suddenly, he noticed someone standing next to the forge. A girl in a hat was watching the blacksmith's work. At this time, men work hard and sweat. The guy approached the stranger from behind and addressed her. She shuddered and screamed. The young man immediately began to apologize for frightening her. He just wanted to know if she needed any help. The girl looked at the guy and then said that she was not strange. She came to see Saifa. He replied that she had just left for a mission, so she was not home. The girl said that she understood everything. The stranger thanked and apologized to the guy and immediately ran away from him. The young man thought that perhaps this girl really was strange, but he tried to push these thoughts away. Billy noticed Gio. The young man noted that they were busy here. The man approached the guy and asked what had happened and what he needed. He replied that he wanted to ask him to forge a sword for Senna. The man said that he would do it without any problems. After all, he had helped them a lot. The young man thanked him and handed over the material. The man recognized the mithril, but then, after taking a closer look, he asked what kind of mithril it was. The stranger who was standing outside Sif's house is called Sarasa. She walks down the street and says that she was acting suspiciously again. Every few years, mages are called to the capital's magic academy to take a qualification exam. She was so nervous that she almost failed it. She is glad that she will finally leave that place and return home. Even without her there, she's confident that Saifa and Annie were doing well on their own. But without a good mage to provide support, adventuring can have its challenges. Back in the groups, she will need to give it her all. The girl came to the guild. She sat down on the bench and began to think that, whatever the case, she decided to look into the family workshop of Sifa since she arrived a little early. But the muscles of the masters are truly irresistible. The month-long round trip to the capital and back had been exhausting, but now she was completely refreshed. There she met a puny boy, but he seemed to be on friendly terms with the masters. She was sitting on a bench and thinking about something indecent. Suddenly, she hit herself on the cheek to bring herself to her senses. A man passing by her was taken aback by such actions of a stranger. Sarasa thought about what was close. Her bad habit was about to make itself known. She needed to calm down by admiring those delicious mussels. She noticed two men standing by the window talking about something. A guy with black hair asks his friend if he is sure he is good enough. He could form a group with someone stronger. The guy answers that he doesn't need them. There is no point in going on adventures without him. The dark-haired boy did not understand what his friend meant. He replied that he became an adventurer only to go on adventures with him. The boy didn't believe his words. The blonde asked him not to force him to say such things. Sarasa watched them and thought that this was just bliss. Her mouth was drooling. She was clearly pleased with what was happening. She looked around the guild and found more and more male adventure couples to get close to. First, there were two young guys who were arguing heatedly about something, and then an older adventurer and a young adventurer. The girl fell to her knees and thought how pathetic she was. She confessed that she loved not only muscles, but also looking at men with such nasty eyes. Her face was red from such a confession.